bird.
Hi.
Look what I did.
What's
Hi,
going on,
Merle.
Chris?
Hey.
So, did any of you catch
too.
Rachel's video? I think she took it down. But
Posted in the...
Yeah, I know,
Oh, it's
but
not up
Merle's
anymore?
Did anyone
I
catch
don't
it? I
know.
think she took it down. Yeah,
took
yeah,
it
we
down.
caught that one, Kamo.
Yeah, did you catch
she
it?
debunked Ranty. She debunked Ranty so badly that she
The
took
video
down the
had to
video.
come down.
No one needs to see it.
No. Obviously, just a bit more refining to do. But I mean, these things are easily understood. Distant objects get smaller in the background. I mean, we can replicate that observation that Ranty produced, so it's not that big of a deal. No?
Well, I don't think you have replicated it, though, have you?
Did you watch Rachel's video?
Has she updated it? Because the one she did, we felt there was enough inaccuracies in it for it.
No, what all she had to do was show the object, the bigger object, smaller than the object to the front.
Right, but they need to be the correct size and distance apart.
Yeah.
And I don't think the size was correct.
Well, we'll just have to see. But these things are easy.
I had a conversation with her about it. She sent me some photos, and I think, you see, it only needs to be.
Oh, look, it's not deleted. It's there. Look. You only need to see what?
Yeah, that's the video. It only needs to be very slightly incorrect, and you won't get the same result. And the thing is, it doesn't match the photograph. You can't say, well, the photograph is possible on flat Earth because it doesn't match the photograph.
Yeah, but what we're saying is, if you remove all that lensing stuff, the mountain in reality is not shorter, is it? It's obviously just perspective and stuff. All we've got to do is replicate what she's done.
Well, if that were true, you would be able to replicate it, and you haven't done so far.
Well, yeah.
In Rachel's video, the objects look almost the exact same size.
Hey, Jim, what's the name of the theme park that has that roller coaster that appears to be larger than the mountain?
Alton Towers.
No, it's Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
Oh, Blackpool.
And then people also, the other objection is that the height of the camera.
Can you repeat that?
No, Rachel's confirmed it. Hold on, Chris. Hold on, Jeb. Look, it's been confirmed. The measurements were used, and she proved the floor was flat. Everything was done in accordance with the right measurements.
Is this a new video, or is this
debunked? It's not new.
Is it the one that was released the other day?
I think it's just been posted in the chat here.
Is it?
I don't know if it's the one from the other day. I don't know.
All right, I'll check.
But these things.
Rachel in the chat saying, no, you confirmed it with the measurement of 141 inches used. Improved my floor is flat in the process. Thank you. So, looks like she's at least standing by some of her measurements anyway.
Right. Well, I'll show you where I think her measurements are wrong.
You're going to have to show us with an experiment now.
Well, I don't. I can show you with Rachel's photograph. Okay.
All right.
Because all she'd have to do is get the ratios right with the height of the object versus the distance away and get those ratios down.
Except they're not right. That's the point. Right. Here's the image.
But are they too big, too small? What's wrong with them?
I'll show. I'm in the process of telling you. If you shut up for a minute, I might be able to.
Sorry.
Right. If you look at this image, which is coming here. Okay. So this you will see, I would say, is about 44 millimeters, right?
Right.
Okay. This needs to be about 48 millimeters, 47 or 48, because it's somewhere in between the two. And if you look at the bottom here, you notice how the bottom of the box is bowed out. Well, if you look at the center of that, I reckon there's about 3 millimeters there. And if you look in her video, that's very flat. So there's 2 or 3 millimeters gained there, and it's already a couple of millimeters short or 3 millimeters short in the first place. So basically, I think that takes it down to effectively 4.1. And if it was 4.1 and it's 4.1 times further away than Blackpool Tower, then we'd expect them to look about the same size. And that's what we see. So I think, you know, when it's scaled down like this, something this big has been scaled down this far, you've got to be really, really, really accurate with your measurements, because 1 millimeter is a big deal, right?
I guess, but it's so statistically insignificant.
You
I think
guess.
that's splitting hairs at this point.
Well, it's not. It's like I say,
The background was
4.1, 4.1, and we'll get the result that she's got. Do it to the correct scale, and we'll get a different result, and it will match the photograph.
We don't even know if those mountains are in a full-on orthographic profile. They could be slanted at an angle, and that will make them descend even more. I can line up a straight edge with something straight in the distance, like the horizon, and the moment I rotate it to the left or the right, it will appear to dip up or down, you know, past the horizon right there.
Yeah, that's
so we don't even know if the mountains are in full-on profile and or if they're slanted.
It's been modeled over a globe, so we do know.
This is just too hard to even know. You know, there are too many factors to be explored.
No, it's not.
We
Making
know the height
shit
of the
up doesn't make
mountain.
it
We know
right.
the size of the Earth. How is that? What's hard? What else do we need? But
We
anyway,
need actual conditions.
I wonder what Chemo thought of my objections.
No, we've done it. Rachel's saying that we've done it. She's shown that we were able to replicate Ranty's observation. And all you're doing is saying, well...
So you're just ignoring my objections.
No,
you're just gonna pretend that her wrong objects are actually the right size, and that will do, will it?
No, you're just saying it looks bowed, it looks off, it doesn't look right.
Well,
I feel... What?
It's definitely the wrong size. It's only 4.4 millimeter, 44 millimeters. Lemon agreed with that, and that's the wrong size for a start.
Well, like I said, it's easily replicated, and there was also another video.
Yeah, but it ain't replicated to the fucking correct scale, Chemo.
And also, there are other people on the case.
And also, let me just ignore that too.
Because I'm saying it's easily debunked. It's not a big deal. I mean, people are already on the case. Sister Rachel's on the case. You've got this guy on the case explaining.
Nobody's on the
Do
case.
it properly. I've talked to her about it. She didn't say she would, but she didn't say she wouldn't either. Just do it properly. Let's see what it looks like with the correct, really accurately done measurements. If the Earth's flat, you shouldn't be afraid of that. But you guys are terrified of actually doing it properly and seeing that an object this big, when it's only this far away, cannot possibly be smaller.
Why?
If they're on a level surface.
Because
Again, Chemo, because it's 4.6 times bigger, but only 4.1 times further away.
Yeah, but do you know how the atmosphere works?
It has to still appear taller.
You know how the atmosphere works?
Oh,
Yes.
here we go.
We
Let's
don't know how
deflect.
the atmosphere works.
You do know how it works.
Yes, I know every detail of it.
So how do you explain this on a flat Earth then?
How do I explain what?
Ranty's observation.
Well, I don't have
easy,
to.
the Earth ain't flat.
Isn't flat.
Well, that's you not measuring it and then presupposing the ball.
It's measured.
So you know when we say, or when I say I use a magnifying glass, and you say, show me the magnifying glass in nature. Well, how are magnifying glasses made? Are they not a liquid before they?
I've never heard Jim.
Are they not a liquid before they turn into a glass? Isn't glass a liquid?
No. They probably grind them. I would have thought. I don't know how.
Well, isn't glass a liquid?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's use our brains.
Technically, glass is made of sand.
Okay,
Right.
let's use our brain then, Chemo, and not run away to this weird place you're trying to take it instead of answering.
No.
Jim's question.
We're saying to you that the
Don't run away,
liquid,
Chemo.
the liquid in the atmosphere is the cause, and we use a liquid like a magnifying glass that's solid. It used to be liquid, now it's not. It's now more.
Chemo, you speak English. Stop saying things incorrectly.
It's hard
Even
liquid,
when it's a solid
It used to be sand.
and it
yeah,
used to be
sand.
liquid.
It's still liquid, even if it's in a shape.
Yes, but it's liquid.
Silica's liquid now, Chemo?
How do you make glass?
Oh, out of sand.
Mm-hmm. Go on, I'm listening. I'm listening. What do you do with the
Oh,
sand?
that was it. Out of sand. Full stop.
What do you do with the sand?
No, Chemo, what you're not understanding is that by admitting this, you are now saying that you actually are incapable of seeing through the atmosphere ever because it is an opaque solid.
There's a liquid there.
If you regress it even further, it was sand.
Yeah, and if you so Chemo, there you go. Automatically, your line of thought is just stupid and invalid.
What is sand?
Doesn't matter.
Aha. Exactly.
Silica. That's what it is.
The collection
Glass?
of quartz,
What is
silicon,
glass?
Sand is something you go to the beach and to pick up.
Sand is
That's
what? What
sand
is sand? If you melt sand, what does it become?
Doesn't matter, Chemo.
Mm.
Your line of thought is completely irrelevant.
The brains are back in
If
town.
you melt sand, it will eventually become
And there's
solid
fish food
glass,
there.
which does not have the same characteristics as the liquid.
Now you know why we're the leaders, because we think of everything, right?
Yeah, let him go with this one.
You're not thinking of everything. You jump to the middle and ignore when every time you do this infinite regression, guess what? If we regress it even back further, glass is heated and pressed fucking silica. But guess what? It's still silica.
But it's still a liquid.
So now the atmosphere is no, it's not. When it's heated and pressed, it went from a liquid state to when we cool it off to a solid state. Mm-hmm. Now, but if we regress it even further back, like you always do, guess what? It's still fucking silica.
What?
So now you're saying the atmosphere is silica, right?
What if we melt the magnifying glass?
Is the atmosphere silica?
No. But if we mount the magnifying glass, what will happen?
Okay, there you go.
That's the last thing he's ever said.
I was actually kind of shocked. I thought he was going to go with yes.
But it was a nice
Hey,
rabbit hole you tried to
Chemo.
lead everyone down, Chemo. Can you get back to actually addressing what Jim said to you?
Yeah, I mean, we can get... Well, James said that he knows how the atmosphere works, and I'm saying that he doesn't.
I don't need to, do I? You need to do your thing correctly, and if you do, you will see that it is as the photo is. It's close to it now, and it's definitely not how it should look on a flat Earth. Because you're claiming the Earth is flat, and you're claiming that the photo is taken on a flat Earth. It does not match the photo. You need it to match the photo to be able to say, look, the photo is of a flat Earth.
Well, no one's saying it's flat. We're not making any claims to what it is. Nobody knows what the Earth is.
We do all the time.
Oh, so flat Earthers are no longer saying the Earth is flat. That's what
we don't know, because your idea of flat is like a mirror or a piece of glass, and we're not saying that.
No, it'd be a coin.
Oh, you're not
actually.
going to do the mountains and valleys.
Because when Neil deGrasse
Not
posted...
after 5 years of saying flat Earth, of referring to it as the flat Earth, of referring to you, the group that you're in as flat Earthers, as referring to yourself as a flat Earth activist. The millions and millions of times you've uttered the word flat in the last 5 years, and you're now abandoning it. That's what you're telling me.
No. When Neil deGrasse posted the eclipse, he posted a thin Earth, said, look at the eclipse. That's how you guys imagine the Earth to be, and that's not the case. Because if he'd have showed the real eclipse, he would have put a dome over that plane, which he didn't, obviously.
Shallow Earth.
And he would have put pillars.
Oh, so now you're making a claim after just saying you don't make claims.
He would have put pillars.
Congratulations.
He would have put pillars underneath that, and all sorts. So he didn't really give a true representation. You guys don't understand how the flat Earth works. You have your own idea.
But we don't understand how flat Earth works. Okay, cool, good. There you go. He's just backed away from that.
Yeah, you've got to know how.
Back to flat Earth.
Yeah. So how the flat Earth works?
You don't make claims. So if the Earth is flat, then that's a claim. But you don't make claims now.
No, we've measured it flat. It's been measured flat.
No, you haven't. Not one of you motherfuckers have actually measured it flat.
Yeah, we have. We have a 20-mile road, no curvature.
That's already been debunked, Chemo. There's an elevation change.
No curvature. Straight road.
Okay, so the road ain't the road ain't flat because there's an elevation change. You dumb.
That's what we mean.
That's too bad.
That's what we're saying. Where you think exactly my point. Precisely my point. You're thinking flat like a mirror, and we're saying there are elevation, like it might slope up, it might slope down, but it's not curving. There is no
Then it's not flat by definition.
Well, there you go. Then fine. If you want it to be that way, you know, if you want to say it's not flat like a mirror, fine. It goes down, it goes up, down,
No,
up.
You can't say that this is fucking evidence of flat Earth when there's elevation changes.
All right, fine. So we're on elevation Earth. That's it. It doesn't curve. Doesn't go around a ball. We've measured it flat in a straight line, and then another straight line.
No, you have not.
We have. We've got.
No, you have not.
In elevation change, you don't understand, dude.
Well, again, it doesn't curve down. It doesn't curve up. It goes slopes down and then slopes up. Slopes down, slopes up. Slopes, 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 slopes. Long, vast slopes for miles upon end. You can shine a laser for miles upon end.
The water slope, Kimo.
Slope is just a straight piece of road.
No, it's not. Literally, the definitions for those words are completely fucking opposite of one another.
Well,
Do you guys know what a cross section is?
Slope is literally bend, not straight.
Do you guys know what a cross section
Yes, I know what a cross section is.
Right, so it's obvious, right?
Nothing you say is like obvious, except obviously retarded.
So it's horizontal cross sections, topography, mountains, valleys, hills.
Okay, but that does. If you're saying, if the claim,
Nobody has ever claimed that there are no mountains or valleys.
You are now
pretending that people. No, we're not. You lot have been claiming that then.
We've just said there's a 20-mile slope.
Flat Earth community has been. You bunch of fucking idiots. You don't believe in mountains and valleys. You fucking morons. You've had a movement going for 5 years on the internet trying to convince people that there are no mountains and valleys on Earth. You bunch of pricks.
No.
You morons. How could you be so stupid, Chemo?
That's not what we're doing. We're saying...
Well, apparently you have. Because today, the meaning of flat Earth changed.
Yes, because of that slope. Because we have a 20-mile straight, and it doesn't mean curve. It just means a slope here, slope till it gets down to sea level.
No, you're backpedaling.
Once it gets to sea level, then it's straight. You can't have a slope on water, but the land slopes.
Not even the flat Earth.
And slopes down, slopes. It's what we've measured it. We've measured a 20-mile.
You didn't fucking measure anything. Not one of you motherfuckers have.
Wikipedia measured, surveyed it as the 12th straightest road in the world.
Wikipedia did.
Yeah.
But Wikipedia isn't a reputable source.
As a 12th
for the last
straightest.
5 fucking years. Now all of a sudden, magically, because Wikipedia said so, now it's a reputable source. Like, how much of a disingenuous piece of shit can you be in one day?
Well, a globe earther went there with an orange to show that the Earth was curving on that same road, and because he thought it was the straightest road in the world, well, one of them, and didn't realise that the horizon was not physical therein.
Chemo, all the thousands and hundreds of thousands of pictures taken by satellites of the Earth's curve is evidence of the Earth's curve. In fact, you could say it's self-evident that the Earth has a curve.
Satellites are not man-made, Chris. They're just like rocks or stars.
They are. What do you mean?
Well, wait. You mean the satellites that like NASA makes are not man-made? How are they made then?
So look, listen. You know how we have we have the regular known bodies that orbit. So we know about the planet.
You said they're rocks. Come on.
So we know about
Starlink is naturally occurring.
Satellites are rocks. Did everyone hear that? Don't glaze over that.
The Starlink trains are all, naturally occurring phenomena.
They're natural now.
So
that's what I heard.
We know about planets that go around. Now they could have told you.
TV satellites and internet satellites are all natural.
Jesus Christ,
they're not
Leo.
man-made.
Well, what I'm saying is that the planets were obviously too high or not high enough for them to use as what we call satellites. So they look for other bodies that go around the Earth and use those instead, like smaller bodies that go around the Earth, instead of calling them planets or calling them.
Hey, Chemo. Are you going to continue to use Wikipedia as a source? Because I'm just curious on that.
Well, I mean, look, Wikipedia says about this road.
Nope. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, it's just like everywhere. Are you
going to continue to use Wikipedia as the source?
It's just like everywhere. It has good and bad information.
That isn't what I asked you.
Well, I've just said, yeah, I'm going to use it, but you got to remember, just like everywhere else, it's going to have good and bad information.
Wikipedia also says the Earth is a globe. Congratulations.
That's the bad information. Yes.
Oh no! You don't get to pick and choose what Wikipedia says because it suits your narrative.
Well, no, we went out and tested what Wikipedia said about the globe.
No, you didn't. No, not one of you motherfuckers have.
It turns out there is no curvature.
Not one of you motherfuckers actually have.
And what we realized, Alberuni...
Not every source gets it right.
Alberuni...
Some stuff wrong. It's wrong about the shape of the Earth being round, but it's right about some...
No, you can't say... You can't go Wikipedia is the source that I'm going to use, but I'm just going to ignore this bit. Now, fuck off, cunt.
So, you're saying that everything that they say is right, that they don't get stuff wrong? Sometimes sources get it wrong, too.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not, but I am saying that you're not just going to pick and choose what you want to because it fits your narrative.
You pick the true stuff and you leave the false stuff.
No,
and
actually,
one last point, Lemon. Let me come in next.
We believe what is evidently fucking true.
Lemon, let me just say this quickly. So now what we know about Taboo Conspiracy's slope, for all we know, Ranty's location could just be sloping down to that mountain and then it slopes back up. We've seen it before. There's nothing to suggest that the Earth can't just slope in that manner. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat. Why do we need
the water sloping?
We don't need it to be perfectly flat.
That's why you can get the elevation of those points, Chemo. You can get the elevation of those points above ground and see if it is sloping or not.
Well, does it slope from Ranty's location to the mountain on the elevation, like the road?
Hey, Chemo. Since many times in here you've said that the Earth is flat and the Bible proves it.
Yep.
Where does the Bible talk about this slope?
Nowhere.
Then how do you know it slopes? If the Bible doesn't say it, then it can't be true.
Well, we measured
Well, God did say to Job that it was pressed out like clay under the signet ring. That's flat.
So
Okay,
how can we
perfect.
prove then
But
that
it never
this
says anything about
area...
slope. And what
Go
about,
on, Chris.
And what about a lunar eclipse? It doesn't speak to how that occurs on the Earth. So to use Ketu and Rahu, which would be pagan to the Hebrews of the Old Testament, you can't use them because that's not part of their religion.
Well, I think we've done it now. I think we've recognized how the Earth works. I mean, we were given a straw man model in the first place of a completely flat Earth. When we look at the Earth, like of the UN flag or something, it just looks like a flat plane.
Well, if you understand it, Chemo, Leo asked you a question. How does a horizontal plane cast a vertical shadow on the moon?
Because we don't know how the sky works entirely, Chris.
Or something else is eclipsing it.
Exactly, something else is going on we're not aware of.
Eclipsing it. We actually know
in the Bible that the Earth is eclipsing the moon. So that's another assumption from another religion, science.
No, it's not. It's what we've observed.
So wait, you don't disagree? Do you disagree with the fact that Ketu and Rahu would be considered pagan to the Hebrews of the Old Testament? Moses' religion?
They'd probably be considered dark stars. The sun, moon, and stars category.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the worship of Ketu and Rahu and believing in Ketu and Rahu is a pagan religion to the Hebrews of the Old Testament, Moses' religion. Isn't that true?
It's truth for the Jews, I think.
The point is, Chris, we now seem to have a model of the surface, that the surface slopes for miles.
I thought you flat earthers don't use models.
No, but now we've started to see how it looks. The Earth slopes in certain areas for miles upon end, and then it slopes back up. The one thing we do know.
So if it slopes, chemo. So if it slopes, then that is not evidence of flat Earth, because the Earth would be flat. There would be elevation changes, but it's not indicative of what. It's not
Anarchy, can't hear you there.
I'm waiting for someone to tell him.
Here, you need to exit the program and come back in because you're really unclear. You're breaking
But that's a topographical changes. The general layout appears to be very flat because the same thing could be said for the ball.
That's the water lemon. The ground slopes down to the water, and then that's it. Like, remember, it slopes down under the water lemon. The land, think about it, it goes under the water, down, 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 and then the water gives us that level, that horizontal, you see? But the land will slope out of the water up, and then obviously, depending on the circumstances where you are, it will either just not level out completely, but you'll get elevation changes over the land of slopes. Lots of sloping.
Cross-section maps. Hang on a second. Cross-section maps demonstrate a horizontal plane, how it works, how it functions. It's not difficult.
Awesome. So, Patrick.
No, it's not perfect, awesome. You're not just going to steamroll me, Leo.
Why? So you can steamroll me.
Well, you've had a good go.
No, I have a question for Patrick, though. I think he's back and he might be clear again. Start talking, Patrick. I want to see if you're breaking up again.
He's not answering it.
Joe will come back when he's ready.
Hello.
Are we?
Hello.
So what's on the line now? What's the contingencies now with this new evidence?
We don't want to confuse elevation
with curvature.
Yeah, there are topographical changes on the billiard ball Earth, just like there are topographical changes on the flat layout, so that's immaterial.
It's the water that tells us the Earth is flat and level.
No, the water tells us it's curved, and we can measure that.
The water
you guys,
you gotta stop confusing elevation with curvature.
I mean, Lemon Bird and Chemo have been around years, but they never bring up cross-section maps.
Right, Cheek. Maybe.
Yes, maybe they know
cross-section map. Cross-section map.
In their favor.
What about cross-section maps?
Lemon, stop. Cross-section maps don't tell you about curvature. They tell you about elevation changes. There's a difference.
So, Merle, what were you trying to say with cross-section maps?
Cross-section maps show the functionality of how the land contains the water.
No, they don't.
I don't even know.
That's exactly what they do.
No, they don't.
And the land is what contains
of elevation changes.
The land
give you an elevation change in a linear XY scale of mountains and the sea. Yeah, you don't say no. That's what they do.
No,
they give you
I can demonstrate.
If you look at a map and see sea level and going up to the Sierras or the Alps, and where the water level is compared to the mountains, it'll show you a graphical representation on an XY coordinate system that shows a flat plane. That's not representation of the Earth's shape. It just represents where the elevation is with respect to the sea level. Get it straight.
So what's containing the water, Zanuck?
What's containing the water? What do you mean? What's
the land, right?
The water.
Bedrock.
What does that even mean?
Merlin, I think your question.
Do you know what bedrock is?
The water is contained by the sides, the shores of the land.
Of the land, right.
Right.
Of the ocean.
Containment is from shore to shore is curved, and you can measure this very easily.
Exactly. It's simple.
It's curved.
The land consists of land and water.
It's curved.
And,
if you look out at
you guys have been debating this for nearly 7 years.
It drops as you go in the distance. As you go further in the distance, that drops away from you at a rate of about 8 inches per mile squared is one way to look at it.
I think you cut off in the middle of Zanuck. I'm not sure if it's only me.
It's all right. Hey, Chemo.
Yes, Chris.
Or Lemonwood. How does water become level?
Oh man, like
Water seeks to find. Well, everything, Chris, is trying to find equilibrium.
Yes, levels curved came out.
So
Level is
water
curved.
is self-sentient then?
No, level being curved is a presupposition.
Right.
Okay, based on the idea that the Earth is a globe.
Measurable.
Okay.
It's measurable. You can measure the curvature of level.
Oh, you're both talking over each other. It's terrible.
So,
the thing is, when we hang a
three
plumb
people
line,
talking over each other.
when we hang a plumb line, we can see that the water is perpendicular.
No, they're not. The
Yes,
plumb lines.
they are.
Planet clicking.
Plumb lines are not parallel. You can measure.
You're
this.
saying
Now,
plumb line?
I'm
You're saying you don't
wondering-
find your level by hanging a plumb line?
You
Please
can
let Chemo
find
answer my
orientation of
question.
level by hanging a plumb line. Yes.
Yeah, that's how we find level. We hang a plumb line, go 90 degrees. We got our level line.
Jeremy,
have you ever seen a cross section map of the Suez Canal?
If you go out a couple miles, you can see that those plumb lines are not parallel. You can measure
Why are Chris and Zanuck talking exactly, precisely, synchronized at the same time? Are you doing a dance?
Right.
They're on the same wavelength.
I think so. Is it a synchronized talking session between Zanuck and Leo?
This is destructive interference.
Jeremy,
Zanuck, stop this clicking.
Jeremy, go find plumb lines that are parallel.
Got two more clicks, Zanuck, and then that's it. Stop
You
the
just
clicking.
So have you guys ever seen?
I just made a statement to
You're moving
Jeremy
away from my question
telling
on
him
purpose.
to find me two
How
plumb
does
lines
water
at any
find its level?
distance.
Dude.
Alright,
Stop it!
alright, this is not going to work like
Stop
this,
it.
is
That's
it?
Chemo, get this shit straightened out.
Yeah,
here.
that's,
Come
they
on.
seem to be.
Jeremy, find me parallel plumb lines, period. Go find me parallel plumb lines. Go ahead.
Yeah, well,
So have you guys ever seen
They don't
a
exist.
Chemo,
They don't
cross
exist
section
on the
map
Earth,
water
okay?
finding its level.
All surveyors know this. If you want to go find where water will run in your land in the mountains,
Right, that's
you can
one
do this
click,
as well.
Zanuck.
Parallel plumb lines do not exist.
Spurs, is it okay for them just to rumpus?
I don't know
any
why
photos they
Chris
like?
and Zanuck are talking at the same time. It's very peculiar.
Melody is
I
also
haven't-
doing the same.
I haven't spoken in here for a long time. As soon as I
Xanax
spoke,
gatekeeping Lale.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why you're moving away.
I brought something practical to the table,
I
like
do
a cross-section
understand.
map. And
we're
have you
talking
ever
about
seen a
water.
cross-section map of the Suez Canal?
I think people have answered you, Merlin,
Yes.
and they told you that
Tell you
cross-section
everything.
map
Panama
is
Canal
conscious
and
elevation.
all over the world.
Right, so there's no deviation there.
Well, well,
XY representation of
hold on a
elementary
minute.
sea
Hold
level,
on a minute.
period. Done.
Hold on a minute. What we'll do with this, okay, is when you see those cross sections, like for instance the elevation cross section in Google Earth, they show the elevation as distance from the surface of the Earth. That's how we calculate elevations. That is all we're going to discuss on this subject, because this is not for adults. If you don't understand that, you need to go and ask some 4-year-olds to explain it to you. We're not going to waste our time on this silliness here.
So the cross-section of the Suez Canal doesn't debunk the
agree.
globe.
Right.
It doesn't debunk the globe, does it?
Last chance, Merle.
Or what?
Or I would just, or I'll just.
Or what? You're just censoring me.
Yeah, I will, because we're not going to discuss your childish misunderstanding of an elevation.
I think we should move on.
It's absolutely idiotic.
Move on, Merlin.
It is not.
Then move
Shut
on.
up! Shut up! Shut up! It is not a conversation for adults. I am not going to entertain it at all here in this server. This is moronic Nathan Oakley act. And I am not going to have people here wasting their time debunking Nathan Oakley's act.
You still hot about what Adam Eakin did to you last night, or what?
no, it's an insult to my intelligence that a grown man in his 40s is going to come in here and say the elevation profile in Google Earth shows the Earth is flat. That's a fucking moron's thing to say. And we should not entertain it for a moment. Sorry, but it is.
Appeal to emotion.
Where were we? Where were we?
No, it's an appeal to
Kimo,
don't insult my
I was on
intelligence
push to
with
talk. I'm sorry if it
morons.
was lagging a little bit.
Jim's absolutely correct in stating
No,
what
Jim
he
is
stated
absolutely right.
because Google itself shows the Earth as a sphere when you zoom out far enough.
No, Google.
That's a
So to say that
dickheaded,
Google Earth
stupid thing.
says that the
It's
Earth is
even
flat is
stupider
retarded.
than him coming in here going, "Water, I've got a fish tank." It's even stupider than that, Merle. And that was. It's up against some pretty stiff competition with that one, isn't it? Fucking idiot. Oh, we're gonna do that, are we? Thought we would. Bye, dickhead.
So as we proceed
Bye, Mel.
to expose the globe lie, and we're starting on the ground, and obviously Ranty has an observation which looks like the mountains are dropping, but obviously we know things are not always what they seem. So, Chris, how do you explain this drop on a flat Earth?
I don't, because the Earth isn't flat.
We know the Earth is not curving, Chris. There is no curvature
We
measurable
know
anywhere.
it's not flat, so therefore I don't have to support your idea of how we know it's doing this on a flat Earth since the Earth is not flat.
Well, it appears to be flat, but globers have misinterpreted perspective, where all of the visual information is lost and interpreted as a curve downward and away from the observer.
I don't know, that Blackpool Tower observation doesn't seem to lose a hell of a lot of detail. You can see like individual cracks in the sides of the mountains.
Yeah, but it's going to be cut off and clipped early due to perspective and dip precipitously.
What causes
It looks pretty crisp and clear. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's crisp and clear until its visual information is cut off and lost suddenly due to perspective.
No, it's crisp and clear.
Pearls.
I thought it was due... I'm confused, Lemon. I thought it was due to smushing.
Yeah, you have in the foreground a horizon forming the smushing zone, the limit of angular resolution.
No,
and
that's
the
not
zone
the
of
limit
light
of
will
resolution.
block and cut off the mountain.
Cuts off more than half the mountain.
Damn right.
Fair enough.
So the smushing made stuff disappear.
I've never held a coin in front of Leo, you probably have, and you can see how a smaller zone of penny or a smaller zone of converged horizon off a bigger object.
You're lost,
Ten to
Lemon.
flat. You've got a hot mic. Yeah, 10 to
noise.
flat. You've got a hot mic there, bro.
Hot mic. So basically, you can think of the horizon line as a penny that obstructs huge amounts of objects beyond.
Sorry, Lemon Bird. I was trolling the room through you, bringing up the smushing. I wasn't
Smushing's a
actually
real
being
thing.
serious.
Smushing is an actual phenomenon, though.
Yeah, like when I smush an ant, that is real. You're
Let me
right.
go get smoke.
Yeah. Smushy, smushy. The ceiling comes down and the floor comes up. Smushy, smushy at angular resolution.
When you say
So
smushy,
remember
smushy,
that.
So
You
when I
also
was
got
standing at the
smushy,
end of a
smushy.
hall, my
when you say
my bad, go
smushy,
ahead, Leo.
smushy, Lemon, do you mean compressy, compressy?
Yeah, it's compressing.
Compressing is 3 syllables, smushing is 2.
Okay.
how long does the hallway have to be before it does that? Because like I can stand at one end
No, you won't get that,
of
Chris.
the hallway of my high school, which is like 300 feet long,
Yeah.
and I can see the door and I can see the ceiling and the floor are not coming up to the center of the door.
You know
They're
why?
staying exactly where they are all the way across that surface.
You want to know why? That's what you're thinking.
Because they
What-
create a level and the doors below are above the level.
No, but
of the floor.
remember, Chris. If we want to manipulate the conditions, we have to control the cause of what happens outside. Yeah.
Yeah, the cause of the floor being below the door is because that's the way they made it.
Okay. But we're trying to replicate what we see outside. We're trying to replicate
And same with the
Ranty's
ceiling.
image. Yes.
I'm trying to replicate smushing, but I can't when I look down a hallway at my school that's 300 feet long, and I can't replicate the smushing that
You
occurs.
can if you control the temperature.
Yeah, the temperature in that hallway is controlled.
No, you've got to control
Have you ever
it.
heard of buildings having temperature control?
Well, no, you have to control it, Chris. You.
I don't have to control it. The temperature, that's what air conditioning does, is control temperature.
Yes, but you want this effect. Okay.
How what, Kimbo?
We've got an answer for
Kimbo,
pretty much
what?
everything. That's what these guys are not realizing. Just about everything about where we live.
Kimo. You
Yes.
said aha.
Uh-huh.
Aha what?
Is that once Chris starts to manipulate or control the temperature in his hallway, he can have just about anything happen. Now, we've seen this with Brandon's garage door, where things...
Darling, you're diluting. You cannot control the temperature of the atmosphere.
I'm saying, as with Brandon's door...
No. Stay with the subject. Don't go far away. So how are you gonna control the temperature of the atmosphere? I really want to know.
A layer in a warehouse, and you watch the image lift and fall and lift behind the horizon.
He's talking about the atmosphere, not talking about
flat
the
Earth is
warehouse.
synchronized.
To simulate the atmosphere, yes. To simulate the temperature differences in the actual atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So you think as if you're gonna do something in a warehouse, you're gonna change the temperature of the atmosphere.
If you let some cold air from the outside into the warm warehouse, there will be temperature layer differences. That are
We've literally done this. Pebbles in the Pond has done this multiple times.
Pebbles in the
in
Pond.
front of your faces.
What we do, we look at your claims.
No, darling. No. 1 second, please. So, you have a warehouse, you control the temperature, and you have smushy.
Yes. Temperature inversion layers when you let in the cool air. Compression, if you want to call it that.
We've made lights disappear.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna take this argument. It's not bad. So, you said to Lel because he have to control the atmosphere of the outside. How are you gonna do it?
Oh my gosh! Stop being silly, Dakota.
The warehouse.
I think you should watch.
No, you're silly because you have an argument, a stupid argument.
What are you talking about? We have
just
some
said
outside.
it was a good argument 5 seconds ago.
Because what he's saying, Jeremy, he thinks
the
that
warehouse.
He thinks
he was talking about the warehouse.
We were talking about Chris's hallway.
Are you triggered? Are you triggered? Or what's happened?
Because you're changing what we're saying. There's an observation outside.
You have been put it. You have an argument, a silly argument, and I want to point it. That's my reason.
What's silly about the argument?
To change the temperature of the atmosphere. How are you gonna do it? I'm very curious. I want to
simulate
know
it with the warehouse, and so we simulate the warehouse.
You simulate.
Outside it would be similar.
You simulate something in a closed environment.
It's like 30-second video, and you understand.
No. But he said specifically because he cannot. He have to change the temperature of the environment of the atmosphere.
And you'll see how they do that if you watch the video.
But outside it would be nearly impossible. Yes, but it's simulated.
Okay, now we got it. Don't talk about the closed environment. In a closed environment, you can change everything, but on the atmosphere, you cannot change it.
We're
recreating temperature
closed
gradients that are
environment.
in
They open up the door, allowing the stuff to come in, changing the environment, and all the while they're observing it. You need to watch the video before you start arguing against it.
This is the mind of a globe. Unbelievable.
No, it's not unbelievable, man. It's not unbelievable.
Look, Dakotas, listen.
Oh, you're angry. Why are you angry, man?
Stop. Because you don't.
No, I'm not trying to listen because you're stupid with arguments.
Right.
You're stupid in arguments. I'm not gonna attack you. I'm not saying
so
you're
gonna
stupid.
censor me by talking over me, yeah? Why are you censoring me?
What?
Why are you censoring me, not allowing me to talk?
Because you're doing all the time.
I'm only making quick points.
It's something that everybody that you're doing all over the people.
So that's why you censor me.
Yes. You have been on it all the time.
Well, there you go then. You're afraid that we will show you the Earth is flat and not a globe.
You cannot show it the Earth is flat because you don't
why
have
won't
the
you let me speak then?
repeatable. You don't have the repeatable argument. You don't have the repeatable instruments on your side. So if you have a short phenomenon of something that can be repeated every second of what phenomenon is gonna do it. In that case, yeah, you can say the Earth is flat, but you have 1 second. You have only parts and pieces of things that have it's happened because of some things are diluted or halted or things like that.
So that the horizon is an optical phenomena, for better or for worse, be it refraction, diffraction, temperature, whatever.
Lemon, stop with your fucking bullshit. You're speaking nonsense.
Stop with your petty bullshit. You're doing a meta conversation which is boring and useless about stuff that doesn't even matter. We're showing that the temperature gives you a horizon. That is all. Stay focused.
Yeah, you're talking about diffraction. What's diffraction got to do with anything? And you're telling me I'm talking about stuff that doesn't matter.
Refraction is when
Come on, dude.
it goes through the
Just
opening
projecting.
of the eye. Refraction is when it goes from layer to layer, from warm layer to cold layer through the medium.
Diffraction. I was talking about diffraction. You're bringing it up all
Yeah,
the time.
diffraction is when the light goes through the eye. That's what forms the horizon.
eye got to
The
do with
light
anything
going
when
through
you-
the eye mostly, aided by refraction with an R as it goes from medium to medium.
What's the
I have a
medium,
question.
Go for it, Cowbells.
Jeremy was asked this earlier about the smushing and how to calculate it, and now it's being presented that temperature is somehow linked in there. And what else is there?
So
Just
many
trying to
things.
specifically
It's a
get
hot
you
mess.
figured out.
Yeah, there's so many things out there. I don't know if you could calculate it. It's just a hot mess out there of effects. So good luck.
It seems we're doing all right, Jeremy, calculating it without all the complications.
You're not doing all right. You think you live on a giant spinning blue testicle.
Yes, but we're calculating it all right.
Yeah. Well, I can calculate the unicorn that was out in my backyard this morning.
No, you can't.
Math is a guide, but math isn't going to tell us reality. Math is just a guidepost. Roughly, it would form at 3,000 times the height of the observer above the surface. Roughly.
Lemon, you failed by like 5 times.
Your
The
mathematical
horizon was 16 miles and you said 85 miles. Your formulas don't work.
Yes.
We'll need to see that observation of whatever the hell Bob's talking about. But generally, it would be 3,000 times the height of the object, which is a 60-degree field of view divided by 0.02 degrees of angular resolution, roughly to give you 3,000 pieces of vision, one of which would disappear at the 0.02 degree angular resolution limit. Now, our sight is not geometric, so this mathematical approximation is at best an approximation. But it is a guidepost to see what would be expected anyway as we explore this further.
Next question, Globus. Any more problems?
Yeah, how does temperature enter into this 3,000 times whatever?
It would vary the intensity of the light. The light would change its electrical properties. It would propagate a little bit differently, and the angular resolution would vary. It would increase or decrease, and stuff would pop out of the horizon formed or push back into it based off of the
light has electrical properties now?
Yeah, what
When
are
did
the
that
electric
happen?
properties
When
of
did
light?
that happen?
Electrically energetic light is toward the ultraviolet blue spectrum. Yes, different colors of light have different electrical properties. All of that.
I don't think
Light
light
has
has. I don't think light has electrical properties. Full stop, Lemon.
What the fuck are you talking about? Indeed,
Are
Lemon.
you perhaps
Light has
talking
no
about
charge.
Light has different
electromagnetic
energy and electrical properties is known.
Are you meaning electromagnetic instead of electrical?
Yeah, so light isn't just light. The colors of the light also vary things a little bit. Different colors of light have different focal points. They're focused on the eye differently. This stuff can get pretty complicated.
Yeah, because light at different wavelengths usually refracts differently, including the eye. But give me one
Exactly.
Yeah, but show me one optical phenomenon where you can have your distant objects change relative heights, swap heights at distance.
Well, we have it changing heights from Soundly's photo with the hotel. That's where everything
I'm
falls apart for you
saying
guys.
distant.
All your bullshit perspective math. It all
No,
falls
it isn't.
apart when you got that compressing going on.
There's no compression. The angular position of that building is exactly where it should be.
Soundly's Hotel
Yes.
shows the bottom floors are getting smaller than the top floors progressively as it gets toward the horizon.
There is some distortion there, but that doesn't tell you where the other 100
still
feet.
hold true?
That doesn't tell you.
Hey, I
where the
wasn't
10
done.
That
Xanax.
doesn't tell you where the other 10
I
floors
wasn't
went.
done, bro.
That doesn't tell you where the other 10 floors went. There's a couple floors that there's some compression at the point of where you see that delineation, but it doesn't tell you where the other 10 floors have gone. They're
Bro,
not.
we're done
squished
talking
in
because
the
you didn't let
area.
me finish, dude. So have fun talking to yourself.
Well, Zanuck, a mirage can block an object that's beyond with its haziness. So a zone of angular resolution, a horizon, could potentially clip off objects beyond, like the penny in front of a car.
We don't see that, though. We
Principle.
don't see that.
All
We
we
don't see
care
that, though.
about is how tall it is. It's not about seeing any of the damn 10 floors, Zanuck.
Zanuck, you're really a piece of saliva. Why don't you let Jeremy finish?
Seriously, bro, what the fuck, man? So when we see Soundly's Hotel, does anyone have a picture of Soundly's Hotel so we can see it? The one where the floors are shrinking as it gets towards the horizon. I mean, your perspective math even falls apart at that point because it's obviously wouldn't be going according to perspective since some of the top floors are lower than shorter than or taller than the bottom floors.
Yeah, because there is a little bit of.
You got clear
compression
air
there.
when you see the top of it. You got
The
clear.
problem is you're missing 10 to
As long
15
as you
floors.
know how
David,
tall it
David,
is,
I was responding
and
back to
you
Jeremy.
get that clean
This is
air.
why I
so
talk,
when you look
Jeremy,
up,
because people
the
just
air
freaking have no
looks clear.
fucking.
Bro, can you
Listen,
hear someone else is talking and
You're
do you
talking
not
to
realize
me.
that no
I
one
was
can hear
responding
anything?
back to
You
you.
don't want to hear about
I know, but
David's
there was
just
somebody else
blabbing-
talking the
David's just
whole time
blabbing
you were
things
talking.
out. David's just
How about
blabbing
that
things out.
10 floors,
The
Zanuck?
entire building's missing, Jeremy.
Oh, the
It doesn't.
entire
It's
building,
exactly
you
where
see-
it should be based on your perspective and the curvature of the Earth. Where
No,
did
on
the 10
angle.
floor?
It's all
David,
about
I'm
the
still
angle
fucking
of the
talking.
building. When you look
David,
at something, you're
do
looking
you not
at
hear
a
me
90
talking?
degree,
Seriously?
you've got a 90-degree angle on
Yo,
whatever
David,
you're
do you
looking
got
at.
Zanuck muted?
Who? Zanuck don't know nothing.
Zanuck knows a few things, but it's important that you let Zanuck get out his lecture, or else he won't let the conversation progress.
The entire
Zanuck, what were you
building is
saying?
missing, Lemon. Jeremy, I'm showing the picture. I put it on the chat for you. The entire building's missing. I mean, you can't even see the freaking air conditioning units on the top of the building.
Where's the picture?
It's not I'm
Where's the
still
picture?
fucking talking.
Lecture
There's
is
no air
still
conditioning's
on.
on. Nothing's squished. Nothing is compressed. It's missing. Do you
No, that's
get
not it. That's
This
not
is
the right picture, Zanuck.
Jeremy, you're doing
It's
the
a
same
different
thing
picture.
you're accusing me of doing.
All right, I'm
Stop
just
it.
saying that's not the right picture.
Stop it.
But
Doesn't
Zanuck,
matter
you
what
are
the right
being
picture is.
slightly
It's
repetitive. We
showing me
get that the building
entire
is
building
missing. You don't need to repeat it 3 times.
entire
There are other people that are
building-
trying to speak. So could you say what you're trying to say once and let the conversation progress, please, rather than repeating it 3 times in an endless lecture?
How tall is the building, Zanuck? The building's for as many miles away as it's exactly tall as it's supposed to be, right, Zanuck? Be honest now.
The angular size of the
Distance,
buildings you see in the view
You don't
are
take
exactly
in
the size you
the
see them.
earth when you
Hey,
measure the height of
God,
something. Now,
see-
do you, Zanuck?
Lemon, this
You-
is why I
you
say it over and over
told me-
again, because someone
Hey,
keeps on
I
talking
don't think
over
you
me.
measure buildings using a
Jeremy,
curve calculator.
Dallas,
do you?
shut the fuck up.
You gotta
don't use
fucking
a
chill,
curve
Dallas.
calculator to measure the height of a building. What kind of crazy talk is that? I'm going to measure the height of buildings using a curve calculator.
Gotcha. What were you saying, Zanuck?
Thank you. We can use the angular size.
Zanuck,
of
that's
the
your last
building.
click.
See, there you go. Right when I start talking, someone
Because you
cuts
keep
over
on
me.
clicking. How many
I'm
times?
not clicking. Shut it.
What?
Kimo, you're the only one with a problem with
You
that.
don't know what
I
to
was touching
say
my
to me.
screen.
He's got
I
no
won't touch-
answers.
Just shut up.
He wants you to have
Kimo,
a
just
curve
shut up for a second.
calculator, a
There's
curve
no clicking.
calculator
Stop.
that measures the
David.
height of
In Dallas,
buildings.
you're still talking again. Everybody's talking. Lemon asked me to speak. I'm going to speak. Now, if you don't want me to speak, I won't. The buildings are completely missing. The part of the building that you can see, the angular size is correct for the distance. We can verify that. An entire building is missing, Jeremy and Dallas and Kimo and everybody. It's missing. It's not compressed. Get over it.
Zanik, what?
Okay, that's not the right.
I do
that's
agree
not the
with
correct
you.
picture. Hold on, guys.
That's the
Zanik,
wrong
that's not
answer.
the
Is it
correct-
because the curvature of the Earth is hiding the building? Is that correct, Zanik?
That question says no. I knew that we ignored Dallas until we continued the conversation. But what were you saying, Jeremy?
We got to
Zanik,
repeat
that's
the
not the-
claims. You got to repeat the claim back to them. The claim is the building is
That
missing.
doesn't get us anywhere, Dallas. That bombs the conversation. What were you saying, Jeremy?
Get to the point, Zanik. Go ahead, Zanik.
Zanik, that's not the right picture.
Jeremy was
I'm talking about the picture that was taken during the daytime that shows the floors. It's way closer up than that other one is, and it shows the floors progressively getting shorter in height as they near the horizon. That picture. It's daytime. It was a light-colored hotel room or a light-colored building.
This one, Jeremy.
You don't like my picture because it just blows your whole idea out of the water. You have a building that's missing. The angular size of what's left of the building is exactly what it should be for. Don't talk over me.
Zanik, you've done your
Exactly
trick
what
on
it
a
should be
flat,
for the
level
distance.
plane.
I'm still talking.
You have done your trig on a flat,
Oh my
level
God.
plane.
How do you communicate with idiots that just keep on blabbing? Stop it.
You have done your trig on
the
a
angular
flat,
size of the
level
building that you
plane.
can see is exactly the size it should be for its
That's
distance.
not it. No one's posting the right picture of it.
All right, but Jeremy,
Sorry, Zanik.
because until we get that picture, we kind of just hold it. So Brian wants to ask Zanik something, but Brian, please don't shout.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not shouting. He has done that trigonometry drawing on a flat, level plane. It's nonsense.
Got that, Zanik? You got that, Zanik? You're doing it on a flat, level plane, your trigonometry.
No, I'm not doing it on a flat level plane. It has nothing to do with the surface.
Look in the picture.
Measurement is just line of sight. The measurement is a hypothetical distance that we do.
Do we see?
Why are you talking over me again?
Why did you just say that?
You
It has
asked
nothing
me-
to do with the surface. That's what we're
Because it's a
talking
measurement
about.
of
is the
every
damn
measurement of
surface of the Earth
every
being
measurement is a
flat. You
guys,
said
let
it
him
has
Are you
nothing to do
fucking
with
Let
kidding
him
me?
talk. Hello. Let him respond, please. Go ahead, Zanik.
Every measurement is a straight line observation to whatever point you're looking at. The top of Mount Rainier, the top of Mount St. Helens, and the bottom part of the leg of the triangle is the distance to the base of that mountain.
There's
It's
like
hypothetical.
travel in
We're not
straight
looking- we're not
line.
measuring. Stop! What the hell?
No,
There's
Zanik,
like
because
travel in straight lines.
Zanik, because what
It
you're
doesn't
doing.
You
matter.
see in a straight
It
line.
doesn't matter with the base of the leg of the
Yes,
triangle.
it
All we
does.
care about the distance to the
You are
bottom
doing
of that
trig
fucking
with
mountain.
straight
Are
lines.
you going to just
All
talk
You
over
cannot
me?
see in a
All
straight line.
Zanik,
All right,
Severities.
flatties. Look, because Zanik, what you're doing, okay? Because we want to ask questions about the observation. If you're right, you're right. If we're wrong, we're wrong. So you're making a monologue when he's saying it's on the flat plane. All you
Concise, Zanik.
all you need to do, Zanik,
Go
is just
on.
say yes or no, or just it is because it is, or it isn't because it isn't, and then we can continue with the next point. That's where the frustration's breaking down, Zanik. So.
No, he just admitted it that you triangulate it, right, Zanik? You use a straight line to the base of that mountain, correct?
We don't use a straight line. It is a straight line.
Okay, so he said he doesn't
Okay,
use a
you
straight
don't-
line.
Straight line.
That building, you're what you're saying is we could pull out the curve calculator, and the top of that building will match your curve calculator in distance and height.
It has nothing to do with the curve calculator. All we're talking about is
it
Can
measures
I
height.
finish the sentence?
A
Seriously?
curve calculator
Can I
measures
finish
height.
the sentence?
David, don't do this. Don't just
We have
ruin it.
two mountains. We know the distances to them. That gives us two things: the height of the mountain and the distance to the mountain. We can make a triangle out of that. That's all we're doing. Has
No,
nothing to do
you
with-
can't because it's curved, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So, okay, good point. Good point, David. If it's curved,
Brian,
then we hold on. If it's curved, then we see exactly what we're seeing. If it was straight, we would see those mountains line up, and they don't. The second mountain is lower in the picture. You
Cannot
see
do
this.
trig
That shows
on
it
a
can't be
curve.
flat. That's why we have the picture. That's why we have the drawing to show
We
you
could
wrong.
take
It
the
can't be
calculator
flat.
calculations.
It
We
can't
could
be
curve
flat because if it
calculate.
was flat, it would be below. It
Can
wouldn't
we
be.
curve calculate the height of that building? We could curve calculate the height of that building then, huh?
We don't have to curve calculate. We already
All we
visually
need to do
see
is
it.
start getting and measuring
We
how tall
see
stuff
it. We
is.
see
on
Mount
the
Rainier
distance.
below
Before we
Mount
all
St.
do
Helens.
now,
That can't happen if, listen, if it was straight, that's the drawing I gave you. You guys are being really stupid here. If it was straight, that shows you the straight line bottom, Brian and David, and they would all be in line in your line of sight. But we don't see a line of sight alignment. We see this Mount Rainier much lower than Mount St. Helens. So the surface has to be curved. It's just the opposite of what you're saying and thinking. We can't have a we can't have a baseline that's straight because the second mountain is lower.
Hey,
You're talking a load of shit, Zanuck.
Brian, listen to me. You got to repeat what the claim is back to him. So Zanuck is saying that the curve calculator can predict the height of mountains and distances. Is this a correct statement, Zanuck?
Yes, and it predicts Mount Rainier to be lower than Mount Hill. I'm still talking. You asked me a question. Let me finish the sentence.
As long
David,
as we have
David, don't be a
mountain
jerk.
behind
Stop
the
it, David.
mountain.
David, don't be a jerk. So I said,
No,
with the
you
curve
are-
calculator,
you're
you can
bullshit. You're
stop
bullshitting
talking,
with what
David.
you're doing.
David, come on.
The curve calculator will then tell you how much lower in your line of sight Mount Rainier will be below Mount St. Helens. And it's exactly what we see. It's right at the snow line. It's at the snow line. They both have snow on it, but the top of the twice as high mountain is below the snow line of the mountain in the foreground. That shows there's curvature. That can be predicted by curvature. The drawing, Brian, is a flat surface. It shows that that's what you would see if it was flat, and it's not. What's wrong with you people?
Well, the thing is, we need to explore other possibilities over a flat plane. We don't see in geometric, units that are unchanging. Perspective is merging, converging, and covering up and clipping the object. And temperature inversion layers, like with these cold top mountains, may also be complicating things even further when you're seeing from a warm layer toward the surface to the cold mountain layer at the top. So we need to explore this over a flat plane and see how objects are cut off over a flat plane and dip early over a flat plane.
Do you take perspective into account, Zanuck?
Perspective only, and this is exactly what it's doing. It is taking perspective into account by default, because the perspective means that the object will go down in angular size. I'm still talking. I'm still talking. I was giving an answer. Shut up, man.
David, if you do that again, I'm muting you. You can't keep doing this. He was talking, and you heard him talking.
Yeah, David, you've been uncouth.
The angular size going down.
Please be brief, though, Zanuck.
The angular size going down directly proportional with the distance is what perspective is, and that's what we're seeing here. Plus the curvature. That's why Mount Rainier is lower than Mount St. Helens. And Lemon, that's a bunch of shit as well. You know that if we have a cold, it's showing there's cold on top of warm, and that means what, Lemon? And what does the air density do from the top of Mount St. Helens down to sea level? It's always going denser as you go down, even if it's colder up top. And it is colder as you go higher, generally, about 3 degrees per 1,000 feet. But that doesn't change the density gradient. It's always greater going down, which bends light downward, which makes your problem worse. So bring up some other point that doesn't make any sense.
The things look smaller when they're further away.
I just got done telling you that angular size goes down with distance proportionally, directly proportional.
Thank you. That's all you're seeing.
No, it wouldn't change the condition of it.
The proportion is
Yes,
not.
Brian,
Because you don't know the conditions between the tower and the mountains. You don't know the conditions.
Brian, let me speak.
You do not know.
Brian,
You do not know the conditions between Blackpool Tower and the mountain.
Brian, Brian, if you do an alignment on your car and you have your wheel, you can take the angle that car is not.
Don't give me shit, Zonic. I'm not talking about a fucking car.
This is how you do trigonometry to do alignment, to do the
about a
camber. I'm
protractor?
trying to speak to you
You
in your
use a
level.
protractor.
You string up your car. You string up your car. You see it deviate from the plumb line, and that distance divided by the diameter of that tire, the radius of the tire, will give you inverse tangent. Will give you the camber. That's what we're doing here, Brian. The same calculation.
No, you're not.
Yes,
no,
it
you're
is.
not.
Don't tell me I'm not.
No, you are not.
It is.
No, you are not.
You go back. No, you can't do alignment with the cage.
You are not taking into consideration the atmospheric conditions.
Sonic, let them respond now.
He is not taking into consideration the possibility of atmospheric conditions reducing the size of what the mountain should be. There is snow on the mountain. It is obviously colder there than in Blackpool. You have got atmospheric conditions that change things. Throw the picture away. It means fuck all.
Brian.
This exact height is supposed to be. They're lying to you. This is the
gradient
whole
is the gradient.
Hang on, David. Hang on. You can go next. Let Zanet respond. Again, try and be brief, Zanet. Don't make it a lesson.
The gradient is set. We all agree on the gradient. Nobody disagrees, except maybe you, that the gradient is going denser downward. That makes your problems worse because light bends down to the denser, through the denser medium and to the denser side. So it bends down. That looms things up. This is a mountain that's lower than it should be. Get it through your head. It's due to curvature.
Fucking bollocks. You're as brainwashed as fucking Ranty.
All right, it's my turn.
Yeah, because Brian's clearly run out of arguments. Go ahead,
He's
David.
a fucking arsehole.
Hey, look at clouds on the horizon. Like you look at clouds above your head, and then you look to the horizon, right? Those clouds look like they're dropping in front of you. Is that a correct statement? Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
As you look to the horizon, the clouds look like they come closer to the ground compared to where they are above your head. Does everybody agree?
Looks like they touch the ground sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, so the higher angle that you take of looking up, the farther you can see. Do we all agree to that?
Yes, David, get on with it.
Okay, well, if we agree to that, those mountains are the exact height they're supposed to be because you can see farther and clearer the more angle that you look
Okay,
up.
so show us how you've calculated that. How did you calculate that?
You calculate it with a protractor.
All right, well, let me ask you what you would agree with then. Would you agree that if an object appears to be a certain size at a given distance, and I double the distance, it will appear to be half the size?
Depending on the conditions.
Hang on, I'm asking David.
Yes, things decrease in size of the distance. Yes.
For now, disregarding any atmospheric conditions. No, that is not what I asked you. I didn't say, will it decrease in size? I said very specifically, if I double the distance, will it appear to be half the size? Do you agree with this?
I'm not sure if it's the double. I don't know. I'm not sure on 20/20 vision. And then you add different things like magnification of lenses of cameras.
Again, we're ignoring any atmospheric effects. We're just talking about perspective. The thing that you brought up that we are considering. Just perspective.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the height
I
of
know.
the mountain.
Yes.
That's all I'm talking about.
Right. And you're claiming that this is just a product of its distance from the observer. That is not correct. Because listen, you're not listening. It's 4.7 times bigger than Blackpool Tower, but it's only 4.1 times further away. That means it still has to look taller. For it to look smaller, it has to be greater than 4.7 times further away. And it is not. So perspective does not account for this. Pretending that it does is willfully ignorant. Go ahead.
It's like the clouds. It's like the clouds. The clouds
No,
look
it's
like
not. No,
it's just like the clouds thing.
No,
just
it's not.
You're standing on the top of the clouds.
Taken
Turn the
account
earth
of.
upside down.
That's just
turn the earth upside. Just turn everything upside down. Take that photograph and turn it upside down. Can somebody do that? Take Randy's picture and turn it upside down.
You're just
so we
deluding
can have a
yourself.
discussion with Jim so he has a comprehension. Can somebody please do that? Then I'll talk to you.
Look,
Turn
David,
it
your
upside
argument.
down.
You've already
upside down.
listen. You already had your fallback argument. You can just say it's some bullshit atmospheric effect. Stop pretending this is just an effect of distance. It's not. Go for the bullshit atmospheric effect.
No, it is perspective, which is what Rachel has showed.
Oh
Sister
my
Rachel has
God.
also included that in the observations. Now,
How
what
can it be?
What we're saying
So
is...
you disagree with the statement then that an object that is a given size at a given distance, I double the distance, it's half the size.
In a
You
perfect
disagree
vacuum.
with that.
Yes.
That is not how.
No, that's not how it works.
Again, we are disregarding atmospheric effects. Chemo came into this percentage and said, no, it's perspective. Rachie's proved it. This does not take account. Rachie didn't take account of any atmospheric effects. And when Chemo says it's just perspective,
No, not just.
He's not taking account of any atmospheric effects.
No, you're not letting us answer
They have
correctly.
other names.
You're not letting us answer correctly. I mean, you can't just
Go
say
ahead.
it's one or the other. We're dealing with something...
Look, no, don't say it's. Don't come in here saying it's perspective. Rachie's proved it then, because you're saying it's this one thing, and we've shown that's fine.
All right,
That's
let
not
Percent
the case,
tackle
is it?
this one then. Go on, Percent, tackle
God, it's
this one.
infuriating. I just don't get why you guys don't get this.
Yeah, but you got to let us answer,
You
though.
literally don't understand. You literally do not understand the rate at which things get smaller as they move further away. You do not understand that concept. It's
Jen, if
unbelievable.
anyone's saying it's just perspective, then they're wrong. It's
Well, that's
perspective
what he
in our
just
eyes.
said.
No.
and that's what
No.
you-
It's not
and you
just
butted
perspective.
in.
It's not just... How can it be just perspective?
Well, that was your first line.
Yeah, but we're trying to say that you're saying you can't include the atmosphere. Well, that's how can you not include
No,
atmosphere?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying all I was trying to do was get you to agree to do the principles of perspective, just to establish the rate at which things appear to get smaller as they move further away. That's all I was doing. Of course, in the picture, we can take account of atmospheric effects. I'm fine with that. I've even recommended to David that he uses a bullshit, completely made up atmospheric effect, because that's all you have, to explain this. Just don't say it's just because it's further away. That's idiotic and wrong.
No, you've got to include perspective with your the atmosphere of what you're looking at. But I think Percent will be able to break it down in a nice way for us.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it's just because it's further away. Because again, the environment has, density. It does include refraction. It's not as limiting as saying it's only perspective, which denotes a perfect vacuum, which we don't have.
Things getting smaller. Does it just mean that you're gonna have different effects, Jeb, because of the atmosphere when things are getting?
Don't say it's a product of distance then. And don't do what percentage just did,
No, it would
and
still
try
be a
and
product of distance.
conflate that with saying, oh, it's all the things in that distance. No, it's not.
What are you
That's
talking about?
that's
I'm
not what
telling
those
you-
words mean. So
I'm
don't
not
pretend that
conflating.
they
I'm
mean
actually
something different.
Hold up. Jem, real quick. I'm not
This is what
conflating.
Flatzoid did. He
Jem.
said perspective includes lighting and weather. No, it doesn't.
I'm not conflating.
They're
Jem.
called
I'm
weather
actually
and
doing my
lighting.
due diligence of demarcating what we're saying. So it's not just perspective, because again, that's not taking a refraction into account. But you could say
Right,
it's
Zanuck.
a product of increasing the distance,
Good.
because again, refraction is taken into account for that.
I don't think that's
I have a
true.
computer problem. Sorry.
Well,
That's
you
what
have
I
to
thought.
define what the
I
doubling
think that's a
distance is.
deliberately
Increasing the
deceptive
distance.
statement, and that's what you guys are doing.
You have to define.
You're saying one thing, and then when you're challenged on it, you say, "Oh, well, actually, I didn't really mean that." When I say perspective, it includes the weather.
Well, you have to take into account, Jem, what the doubling distance, if anything, is. We need to have the same baseline for doubling. If you make the height of the object itself divided into the distance it is away from the observer as the basis for doubling time, while the tower in the foreground has only had 126 times to have in size based off of 20 kilometers divided by the 158 meter height of the tower. That computes
Lemon,
to
you're
about,
going to have to write this down and show me where I've got my maths wrong, or show me how you're doing your maths right.
How about while he's doing that, Jen,
either
you
of them.
point to the person that said it was just perspective.
But basically, to make a long story short, the mountain has more doubling times and therefore would be expected to be smaller, because when you're 80 kilometers away divided by the height of the mountain, that's 156 doubling times versus 126 doubling times for the tower in the foreground. The tower in the foreground would be expected to be taller if you use the height of the object as the basis for the doubling. So we need to have the same baseline here. And so based off of the distance the object is away, divided by its own height, that gives you a rough approximation mathematically of the amount of doublings and halvings in size that you would expect over that distance. There's more for the mountain, less for the tower in the foreground, therefore the mountain in the background is smaller. Or would be expected to be smaller anyway.
Percentage, can you show me any area on the planet where you see refraction go upward? Meaning, can you show me any measurement of the atmosphere that actually is denser as you go down? Go up.
Refraction going upward. We mean
refraction going upward. Refraction always goes downward on the Earth. You have
from the
density gradients that are always denser going down. We never have a denser atmosphere above you.
Wouldn't that just give you like the optical effect of
you're
inferior mirage?
Just skating the question. Find me the atmosphere, any area above sea level, above a foot or two above sea level, where you ever see a density gradient that is greater going up. You won't find it. That means refraction will always be bending light downward, which means it will always be looming things upward. Do I need to speak any slower?
Not always, no. I agree with you that density, due to the density gradient, more dense things are down. More dense medium is down.
So light will always bend down.
Can anyone else hear Zenith's clicking, or is it just me?
It's you.
No, I hear it too.
Right. Got to sort this clicking out, Zenith.
I mean, it's not unbearable, but...
It is unbearable. All I saw over here is click, click, click.
Anyways, the point is, Zanuck, the path of the light is like a subject of the local pressure and temperature, right? Now, typically, on average, you would have like layers of...
It's not actually.
It is actually.
No, it actually isn't.
Okay, so what's refraction?
Refraction is the bending of light through a differential medium, and you always forget this, an angle of incidence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at an object,
the differential medium.
I'm talking.
Don't worry about the angle of incidence.
Percentage. I'm talking. If you're looking at an object in the distance, I'm talking.
Go ahead.
Looking at an object in the distance, and you're looking through a differential medium, and you have an angle of incidence, the light will always bend down toward the denser medium. And so if we're looking through the atmosphere, it's always denser going down. That means things are always going to be loomed up. So if some object in the distance, due to perspective, is actually lower in your field of view than it should be, that's due to the curvature of the Earth, not due to any atmosphere.
By your logic, Zanuck, then there would be no inferior mirages.
I was just about to say, what about the mirages? Fatimagadas.
How do you explain inferior mirages if there's always going to be looming?
Set above sea level by 10, 20, 30 feet. We're talking about thousands of feet above sea level. So don't worry about miraging.
You're going off your model.
What do you mean?
10,000 feet above sea level.
So it happens on, lower down, but it's impossible to happen higher up? Is that your claim?
Right near the surface of the water, or surface of anything, near a surface, you will see there can be a density gradient change. There could be optical effects that can happen. Miraging is one of them, because that happens very close to the surface. If your angle is very acute.
Okay, so now you're moving the goalpost.
And you have more,
always looming, and now you're saying always looming at X height.
I'm still talking. If you have no surface,
and clicking, talking and clicking.
Why are you talking over me?
And clicking. You forgot to say I'm clicking and talking.
Clicking.
So, Zanik, could you please address how you're moving the goalposts? First, you said that it's always going to be bending down. It's always
I
going
made
to
it
be
very
looming.
clear that above
And now
sea
you're
level,
saying
more than a
that,
few feet above
that
sea
it
level.
happens that
I said
you
more
have
than a few
inferior
feet above sea
mirages.
level.
I'm
I
talking.
said
I'm talking.
more than
Why
a
are you
few
talking
feet
over
above
me?
sea level.
Yeah, let him finish.
You gotta stop being hypocritical, man. The point is, it's not always looming, like you claimed. So you want to run that back?
Yes,
Or
it is
not?
looming. Miraging is not looming. You're talking about things that optical effects that happen due to miraging, which is a whole different effect.
Is inferior miraging looming?
No.
Okay, does inferior miraging exist?
Yes.
Okay, so
Of
it's
course
not
not.
always looming, correct?
That's a non sequitur.
You said it's always looming. You said
No,
the
light
density
is
of
always-
light is such that
light-
it's always going to be
if you have
bending
refraction,
downwards and always
it
looming.
will always be looming. Yes, because refraction always is pointing down. As long as you're a good distance above the surface, 5-10 feet.
So there's a caveat. All right, so we agree
Sure,
that
yeah,
refraction
minor
isn't
caveat.
always looming,
Yeah,
that
things
there
can
is
happen.
other
You're right,
refractive
surface
effects such
can
as
have effects.
inferior mirage. Now, what height are you
Stop
saying that
bringing
it's
up
always
inferior
looming?
mirage. Any substantial distance above the surface.
What?
And any
Give
kind
give
of,
us a step
mainly
substantial distance.
the angle, mainly the acute angle above. So less than a fraction of a degree.
Regardless of where you are in the world, how hot it is, how much wind there is, if it's
No.
less than a frac, what are you talking about? Come on, man.
It's about the density gradient. If it's downward, you will see downward refraction, which means things will be looming upward.
So
Other
about
artifacts,
the density gradient, what do you
other
mean?
things
In
happen
that
with
specific
light.
position?
Diffraction and refraction can occur, and those things combined can give you miraging. We're not talking
But
about
when you
that.
say
I'm still talking. We're not talking about that. We're
Well,
talking
make it
about.
snappy, man. Come
We're
on.
not talking about being acute angles next to a surface. We're talking about above the surface, thousands of feet. So no, there is no miraging.
No, that's
You're
not what we were
1,000
talking
feet
about.
above
We were
the
talking
surface.
generally, and now you've
No,
moved
I'm
the
talking-
goalposts
no,
to
very
that. I asked
specifically.
you actually the
I was
specific
talking
question.
about the
What
mountain.
height are you talking?
We're
That's
talking
always
about the
looming.
mountain, where you don't have an acute angle, a fractional degree near a surface.
Okay, so you're talking thousands of feet in the air. Your claim is that it's always looming.
Correct.
How would we prove that it's not always looming?
By
How
taking
have you
by a known
how
by
have you shown that it's always looming? Have you had
because I
this
know
like
the
a control?
I know the distances to these objects, and I know the angles to the peaks of the objects, and I know the heights of those objects. So that's how we know.
Hold up. Do you have a platform of some type, something that we can kind of gauge that other refractive effects aren't taking place?
Yes.
What?
You see the mountain, you know how high it is, you know how far it is, and you see the respective position of that further mountain to that closer mountain. That
But you
tells
said that
where it
hold
is.
up. So you need a surface for inferior
No,
mirage to happen, right?
All you know, any variance from what you see versus any variance from that observation will tell you whether there's a refraction or not.
But the point is, you need for inferior mirage, for instance, you need a surface to see this, right? That's why
Correct.
it's exhibited so close to the Earth, right?
Yes.
So how have you discounted it when there is no surface thousands of feet in the sky?
Because nobody has any information on a cause for that effect.
Okay. So
Inferior miraging requires reversion of the image.
Other things.
Inversion of the image is required for an inferior mirage.
What's that?
Inversion of the image of the distant.
Sorry.
It needs to appear upside down. Inversion is saying it's supposed to appear upside down.
Yeah, but
Do you see the mountains being turned upside down in any way, shape, or form? Percentage.
There should be an air layer below that makes it look upside down.
You're just being silly, percentage. We don't see the mountains
I'm not.
looking
You need
upside
like
down.
some
We don't
dense
see any distortion
gases
in
or
the image
something
at all.
to
We
see
the
an
mountain
inferior mirage.
entirety. Why are you talking? We see the
Why are
mountain.
you talking, man?
Why are you talking? We
Forget
see
it.
the mountains in their entirety. There is no inferior miraging. There's no miraging whatsoever. There's no distortion of those mountains. They're clear as you can be. They're clear. They are clear as they can be.
And yet you say they're looming.
Oh, Ranty's here. Excellent. We're just talking about your
Yes,
image,
but
Ranty.
that looming is not causing the image of the mountains to appear distorted.
So inferior mirages cause it to be blurry and distorted, but if it's superior mirage or looming, it's not going to be.
No, superior mirage
blurry
is
and
not
distorted. It's going to
looming.
be crystal.
That's also a mirage.
It's going to be crisp.
That's also a mirage. No. Looming is not miraging.
Looming is superior
Percentage.
mirage.
No, it's not.
Right,
Yes,
Zanik,
it is.
Zanik,
Would it
stop.
not?
Zanik, stop.
Zanik.
Zanik, stop, because Bearded Dragon wants a go, and every time he tries to have a go, you jump right back in. So
It doesn't matter how many times he misinterprets the definition. Still are what they are. He can't misinterpret them and still be correct.
Well, the thing is, you guys haven't chosen a baseline for doubling. If you make the object's height the baseline, you're going to get different doubling rates for the tower in the foreground that's shorter versus the mountain in the background that's bigger. So you need to choose a baseline first, which you guys haven't done.
Plenty of boarders here that want to go, Zanik. Doofus is one of them.
If you take the math and the 80-kilometer away mountain with Ranty's observations, say, and divide it by the 950 meter of mountain at that distance, you'd expect 158 doublings or 158 times that the mountain goes down in size by half. Compared to the tower in the foreground that's only 20 kilometers away, divided by its height of 158, using that as the baseline for that object, you have 126 doublings, or 126 times that object goes down by size in half. So based off of the lower doublings of the object in the foreground, you would expect it to be taller anyway, depending on the baseline that you choose.
You're forgetting something about that tower. Oh my God, you cannot use the mountain to scale the tower. That's dumb. Why would you do that?
Because you need to choose a baseline for doubling. Otherwise, what are you
the
doubling?
baseline on my table, Lemon.
Not even agreeing on the baseline, then what are you talking about?
You don't need to double anything, do you?
So what's the baseline then for having the size? You need to have a baseline.
You just look at the distance, your distance, the distance between the observer and the mountain.
The distance between the observer and the mountain is the baseline? But that's going to give you different angles anyway, depending on the size of the object.
Different angles.
See, the problem here is that Lemon is misinterpreting about this half doubling. It's a comparison in between changing those from the object, and he's trying to conflate it as though it's not.
Right.
Different objects with different heights would have different halvings and different doubling times. That's the point. So you need to choose a baseline first.
You're not understanding that this half doubling refers to the object and the observation to the object, and that changing and comparison between those two changes, not comparing it to anything else.
Right. I don't know. These visual principles you're trying to work off appear to be questionable. Each object would have a different doubling time depending on its angle up and down from the level of the eyes.
What you're doing is you're taking the 958 meter object at 958 meters away as your baseline, and then you're saying that it somehow doesn't work for, say, a 1 meter object 1 meter away. It's the same angular size. You got to deal in angular size, Lemon.
So that 1 meter object would, have its own doubling rate based off of its height if you're going to go 1-to-1 with 1 meter away, 1 meter height. Just like the mountain would have its own 950 meter doubling time, 950 meters high, 950 meters away for its doubling rate.
So why would you use the mountain to scale the tower? That doesn't make any sense.
That's the most useful thing that we can do with objects of different size to get as equal a baseline as possible for this mathematical prediction. The mountain would be...
So then use the tower to scale the tower, not the mountain. That's ridiculous to use the mountain to scale the tower. It doesn't make any sense at all.
So the mountain would size more as it has 158 times that it can go down in half in size based off of the total distance divided by its height. And the tower in the foreground has only done that 126 times. So by rough mathematical prediction, it would be expected to be taller since it hasn't gone through the same number of halvings.
Lemon, why aren't you including the elevation of that tower in with that height?
How are you
it's completely wrong math.
Let's see how that goes. Let's add 200 to this 158.
But hold on, why did you do it 126 times? What governed the number of times that you did it?
The tower is 20 kilometers away. 20 kilometers divided by 158 meters of tower gives you roughly 126 times it would go down in half in size.
Why are you dividing it by the height of the tower?
Because you need a baseline.
Double the distance. Lemon. There's a distance to the mountains, okay? Let's say the distance to the mountains is 10. There's a distance to the tower. Let's say that's 5. That means the distance to the mountains is double the distance to the tower.
But the object's doubling time would be determined by its height above the eyes, its distance, and how far away it is from the observer. These are multiple factors that need to be equalized out when you're trying to figure out how big you'd expect the tower to be. So the most equal starting point, the most equal baseline would be the height of the object itself, the height of the 950-meter mountain deciding its own doubling time, and the tower in the foreground of 158 meters deciding its own doubling time. That's the only way to make it equal.
That's lunacy. You start with a distance. You don't need the height. You don't work it off the height of the tower. What are you talking about?
Just objects will go down by half a size, more or less, in the same distance. So you need to have the same baseline.
No, it doesn't.
It's not the
You're
same
fucking out of your
baseline.
mind.
It's the distance between the observer and the mountain, and we take proportions of that depending on where objects are along a line between the two.
But that's
I don't see why you don't understand that.
That's a mistake because perspective is already making parts of the object disappear. So you're only going to get an angular relationship for angular size analysis on a part of the mountain that is still available for 2D analysis by the eye. Hasn't converted.
That's made up nonsense. That's made up nonsense.
So you're already starting at a very arbitrary point when part of the object has effectively disappeared.
Well, that's just made up nonsense. We can see an object move away from us when it isn't near a horizon, and the bits of it don't start disappearing first.
It depends on how much the object is above the level of the eyes. With a really tall object, it will appear to clip that.
No, it doesn't.
So that part will not be available for angular analysis.
That's not true in any way, is it?
Well, it's
That's
my
not in the least bit true. That's completely
true.
made up.
And your logical
You have never ever
logic.
seen. You've never ever seen an object start to disappear from the bottom purely because of distance between you, where you're able to see where you're able to see the object clearly, like say a ball in the being thrown into the sky or something like that.
We see it with the rainbow.
It doesn't start to disappear from the bottom first.
We see it with a rainbow. A rainbow is a hula hoop bow that is suspended above the ground. If you get closer to the ground, all of a sudden it's an arch. So we see it with a rainbow.
Why don't we get everybody on record here? I'm going to
Get
put
the
two
fuck
images
out of here, Lemon.
Hold on. Whoa.
Isn't an object.
So, Jem, what's wrong with the rainbow?
Look in the chat.
Oh, because
David, hold on,
I gotta
please.
say something.
David, come on.
Say something.
We're gonna come to you.
I can't.
David, shut up. A rainbow is a result of reflecting light, and the angle of that light reflecting into your eye, isn't it? Specifically,
how it's cut off
the back of, specifically when it's reflecting off the back of raindrops.
And that's why it illustrates how an object that is suspended above the ground is cut off early, close to the ground.
I'm going to have to mute you if you do that again. Because I'd said about 3 words.
Do what you have to do, dude. Do what you have to do.
All right, I'll do what I have to do. No problem. So Lemon knows very well that he can't throw a ball into the sky and see part of it, see it start to disappear from the bottom. That's nonsense. And using a rainbow as an example, again, is ridiculous. It's not an object that we can, a permanent object that we can look at. A rainbow wouldn't be affected by perspective in the same way that such an object would. If you moved it a distance to or from the rainbow, it wouldn't be changing size in the same way. So it's a completely different concept, and is an absolute red herring to what the argument that Lemon is trying to make. Go ahead, Lemon.
Okay,
it illustrates how an object is cut off early that is suspended above the ground simply by being in close proximity to the flat surface. So if you threw the ball far enough, you would see it disappear beyond the horizon if you threw it far enough. But if you're throwing it up, it's not far enough away.
Well, you would have to establish this principle to be true in some way, and you haven't. You're just saying it.
Life is short established it, and the Globers ignored it.
You haven't established a fucking thing. Show us where the plane, show us where an airplane that flies thousands of miles can be, 5 miles above the surface of the Earth. Well, show us where those disappear bottom up.
Happens every day.
Yeah.
Do it all the time.
Yeah. That's your answer. Yeah. Where they cut off bottom first.
If it doesn't disappear due to angular size before reaching the horizon, exactly that very thing happens. It disappears over the horizon. Same thing. So these principles are here, but the Globers refuse to apply them in a certain way.
You fucking moron. You can watch planes fucking fly 5 miles high as far as the fucking eye can see. They didn't, because it goes up in the air, did not disappear bottom up, just like you just said a rainbow fucking does.
The Globers are working off of
actually over the horizon.
Extremely erroneous principles are what the Globers are working off of. These principles need to be reevaluated and modified.
Literally proposing a principle that's been established by one person in a YouTube video. So I don't know where you're talking about erroneous.
Revolutions happen one person at a time, Gem. One person at a time.
I don't know whether they do. I
If
think
only
revolutions,
somebody else had some
take
measurements
a
to
lot
back
of
up Life is Short's video.
Life is Short did his own measurements and showed them in.
And nobody else can replicate that.
Well, that's because the Globers are so biased. They're not thinking clearly.
He thinks
Not even another flat earther has replicated it.
Yeah, one source of
look at how
information is good
questionable
enough.
some of the Glober videos are. You have swamply, swamp gas, swamp ass refraction videos being accepted despite obvious refraction, where you can see the bottom of the pylons, even in that same area, twisting back in on themselves, and that is accepted as gospel.
No, you don't. You're a fucking liar.
The refraction at
You're
all.
a
It's
fucking
just
liar.
terrible. It just shows
You're a
how
goddamn
not thinking
liar.
clearly. They're thinking extremely unsoundly.
There's like 3 or 4 people in this server who have replicated those pictures. In this server, you retard.
With the same swamp gas, swamp ass.
In this server, you fucking retard.
Your mama's got swamp gas, swamp ass, bitch. Now go fuck off.
Oh, here come the ad homs. We knew it was coming, Lemon. They can't handle the
You're
pace.
gonna let that happen, Jimsy?
Right,
You're gonna
they
mute me, but
they
you're gonna
can't
let
handle
this
the pace.
dude speak about my sainted mother in that way and what's supposed
Sorry, I
to
didn't
be
hear
an
that.
academic
I didn't hear that.
debate. You probably heard it, you biased mofo.
No,
You
I'm
probably heard it and
Hold
ignored
on.
it as usual,
Shut up.
just like the rest of the mods.
All right, I will mute you. I'm at work at the moment, Lemon. I was replying to a delivery driver, so I didn't hear it. I wasn't listening. Sorry.
Well, no,
Just the usual ad homs.
How
dare you?
Chemo was, though, and he will deal with it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Lemon, it's just the usual. We're not going to mute him for that, but it's just the usual ad homs, Lemon, when they backed in a corner, and he feels the only way to get out, which is how he's done it now, is to
That's not what happened at all.
be personal.
Thanks, Mo.
What, he didn't talk about his mother?
Lemon made it personal on Soundly.
Question.
And then Patrick just turned it back on Lemon, and now you're all butthurt about it.
What was personal about
You're
Soundly?
talking shit about people who aren't in the room, whereas Patrick talked shit right to Lemon's face.
Lemon was referring to the atmospheric conditions
swampy
around
gas.
the bridge,
The
and
gas,
it
the
wasn't an
area.
ad hom. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Swamp ass.
Lemon was.
You guys
referring
don't know
to
what
the-
an ad hom is.
Oh
let
my
alone
god!
how to
Why
use
can't
it
I talk
properly.
now? Can we get? You got to get the mute button going.
Yeah,
here.
come on. Let Jeremy speak. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Lemon was referring to the atmospheric conditions around the Soundly's bridge. Yes, it was. She was making a joke and it was funny, but she didn't ad hom Soundly. I don't think.
Who?
Lemon's a she?
Again, Patrick
He,
didn't
my bad, he.
harm Lemon either because
My
an
bad,
ad
I
hom
meant
would
to say
be
he, my bad.
invalidated the argument through the person. You know, that can't be right. You're a fucking idiot.
So,
That's an ad
forget
hom.
that address. Look, so Lemon,
So it's
Lemon,
not an ad hom.
Lemon, what you were pointing out is the area. So let's revisit that. The area is swampy. It's gassy. It gives us obviously
Cold air mixing with warm air because of cold water and warm water. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah.
Speaking about my sainted mother.
No,
How
you
dare
weren't.
you? How dare
You tried to invalidate him by making fucking jokes, saying Soundly swamp ass, swamp gas fucking photos. Oh, I turned it around on you. It wasn't an ad hom. It was just an insult. Get it fucking right, son.
Well, then you should be talking about my observation, not my sainted mother.
You haven't made an observation ever.
Let's leave everyone's mother out of it. Let's try and be nice to each other.
Lemon, if you actually had
I
an
was
observation,
just trying to be nice
that
until
would be awesome.
until
But
the
you
guy
don't
that
have
ain't here to to defend himself gets
all right.
insulted.
You've
So
made that point, Pure. Thank you very much.
okay,
Let's
well,
try
I
and
mean,
move
I
on.
made an observation
I got
that
muted
Money didn't
for
address.
it.
I didn't mute you, Pure. I don't know who muted you.
Basically, Jen said,
Okay.
"Shut the fuck up, Pure."
I have a question
Yeah.
for
Well,
Lemon.
no, he basically didn't say that, but I will if I want to. So go
No,
fuck
deal
yourself,
with it.
Jeremy.
I didn't mute Pure.
Well, we have to call attention to how ridiculous that observation is. It has obvious refraction, but it is accepted as gospel by these biased globers. So the swamp gas, swamp assiness of the observation needs to be called into account without going too ad hom or whatever.
But it's the fact that it's refraction showing that it's refracting around the curve, raising the object up in the background to see it when it was not previously visible until that refraction was introduced, showing that stuff behind a curve gets raised upwards when the refraction is normal.
Or it's
Yeah,
just
the
a
funny
flat
thing is
surface.
if you claim that that's cold water, what you're getting is more looming.
Yeah, but you have cold water coming in from the spillway and warm water from the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to lead to refractive conditions that are probably going to make it look as curved as you're talking about. And that bridge, that Pontchartrain Causeway from the side, looks flat. So it looks like it varies how much curvature it looks like based off of the angle you shoot it at. And if it's curving in one direction but not left or right, then you have a cylinder, sir. You do not have a globe. You have a toilet
Of course,
bowl
it looks flat from the side because the thing that you keep forgetting is that say you work with a piece of lumber. In order to see if that lumber is curved, you don't look at it from the side. You look at it head on. There's a difference there.
It looks flat. The only thing that's curving it is the curvature of the lens and the swamp gas, swamp ass refraction, like I said.
Except for
refraction doesn't work like
it's
that.
been replicated numerous times, unlike the life is short observation. So even people on this server have gone and observed it and taken the measurements. They've taken pictures and they've replicated it, and it's the same thing every time. Even what's his face? Rakia's done it. Jose's done it. Soundly's done it. Lewis has done it.
Lewis.
The conditions were there to replicate the mistake.
Unlike
the conditions were there to
The thing
replicate.
is, he doesn't get it in one particular condition ever. He's gone out and done hundreds of hours of videos, thousands of fucking photos in all conditions. You act like he's done it once and 1,000 fucking times. No, he's done it thousands of times and hundreds of hours of video. You fucking disingenuous mom.
Well, the swamp gas, swamp ass refractions are still there, and you're so biased you can't even see clearly enough to see, there's refraction here. This doesn't necessarily make a globe. That's why you need another perspective from a flatty who's seeing a little bit differently as opposed to your biased globe perspective.
No, your observation.
no,
One
I'd
second,
rather deal with.
1 second. I just want to get one point in. You've been speaking a lot.
Yep.
So there's a problem that you've got with that, which is the point that Patrick mentioned earlier, which you just ignored, which was the looming is pulling it upwards. It's actually reducing the amount of curve we see, not exacerbating it.
But you're talking about it pulling it up over a hump of Earth curvature, which is a philosophy-laden interpretation that shoehorns in the globe. Fine, but you can also look at it over a flat plane with refraction, making the thing pop up out of the flattened horizon beyond angular resolution, whereas before it would have been smushed, converged, and gone over a flat plane. So perhaps refraction is making the thing pop up out of the horizon line and be more visible as a 2D object as opposed to a flattened nothing in the horizon. Perhaps there's a different interpretation of what's going on here. Something looming over a globe hump of Earth curvature.
You're doing really long. Keep them choppy. Come on. But the problem you got with
you sit there longer than that. People chewing out other people and saying nothing but critical bullshit like anarchy and others. So don't talk to me about lecturing people.
Stop preaching, bro. It's
just don't.
okay.
I didn't say you were lecturing. I just say, hey, can you make it a bit more choppy, a bit more concise? That's all I asked for. I'm not an arsehole.
All right, get on with it, Joss.
So yeah, just what the point I wants to make is, yeah, but if we've got a flat plane and we have looming as the prevalent form of refraction, it would take that horizon above your eye line. And we don't see that.
See if it is a hump of Earth curvature that the image is popping out over, and or a flat horizon that 2D objects are manifesting out of beyond angular resolution with the right refractive conditions.
Great. And then you use non-optical instruments to measure it, and it's still fucking curve. Holy shit.
There's no curve.
Question for Lemon.
You're just interpreting a curve in air with your bad principles.
Non-optical instruments. Do you understand those three words together?
How about a laser? How about you see if you hit the hump of Earth curvature first?
Do you not understand those words together?
I understand everything that you're talking about, but as usual, I'm thinking about this in a different way.
Oh yeah, you should keep talking over me. It's a great idea. So when you replicate the observation with non-optical instruments taking measurements, and it matches the optical, what do you think that tells you? It's not all optical. Even a non-optical method shows the same exact fucking thing.
You're talking about GPS programmed by some globe geek who has the globe assumption when he programs the freaking computer? That's worth less than nothing. That's part of what we have to debate about to see if it's valid. So that's circular. The same GPS programmed by the same circular globe as evidence that's not going to do.
He never mentioned GPS, and you go on a long rant about GPS, which has nothing to do with what he's talking about, I think.
What non-optical principle is he talking about, Jack? Let me ask him myself. Hold on just a second. What non-optical equipment are you talking about? You're talking about GPS, aren't you? What else?
GNSS. Sure.
GPS.
No,
Thank
GNSS.
you. Foolish, you were saying?
GNSS. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth, Lemon?
Same principle. Has to be programmed by a globe computer geek. Same principle. Who cares?
No. The principles behind GNSS and GPS are public information.
Yeah.
They're not assuming a globe. They're measuring a globe.
That and they work every day. GPS works every fucking day on every road, highway, fucking backcountry fucking project. Guess what? Anytime you use GPS, it gets you within fucking hundredth of a foot.
Also, there's Also, there's software-defined GPS available. You can basically use just a radio receiver and use software-based GPS, which is open source. Everything. It's not globe-based.
Maybe he can show us in the open source software where the globe is presupposed and it was inserted by some nefarious Luciferian glober.
Yeah.
Lemon, do you want to just wrap up your points? Because David has a way of measuring Ranty's picture in the right way. So I think we need to address David's method. After you, Lemon, of course, if you've come to a position. Yeah.
Well, I've made my main point that globe geeks like yourself have programmed GPS in air, assuming that there's a globe hump blocking what's beyond, forgetting about the diffraction limit, angular resolution, and other optical principles that we might need to explore.
We haven't shown that. You've just stated it with zero backup. Yeah. Thanks for playing.
Hey, Lemon. So, by the way, like Trimble GPS, there's no programming to it. They're receiver. They're only receivers.
Okay, so look.
So what do you mean? What do you mean programming? Fuck off, Chemo. I asked him a question.
It still has to be programmed with a program that receives the data.
Program how?
It's the same thing.
Get ready, David.
Programmed how?
The data has to be taken into a computer program that interpolates the data, GPS or otherwise, and puts it against some sort of GS84 model or some sort of model to make sense of the data. So that's where the globe computer geeks.
Where's that taking place between the base station and the receivers? Where's this supercomputer that's interpreting this data? Because it's just a fucking tripod.
Pure trying to stretch this out as long as he can. So look, David.
I'd have to research into
we're trying to get down to it, Chemo.
Yes, similar principles would work off of a computer globe geek interpolating the data and putting some sort of globe to bring all the data together. That may be a mistake.
Supercomputer, where's the supercomputer with the base station that's sitting on a tripod and the receivers on the edge of a blade?
We need to research this further.
Yeah, you should probably actually research how the software does the calculations. First, it starts with some Cartesian-style coordinates, ranges, and the WGS 84 conversion happens after. It's for convenience.
Aaron?
Sounds nice. We need to look at the diffraction limit and other optical principles.
It works. It works every day on every highway ever.
But several models can work, even ones that don't work, for short-term purposes. It's the ultimate reality that we're trying to get to, and it isn't a globe. You just have limits as to how far you can see due to the diffraction limit and optics, not because a hump of Earth curve is in the way.
Okay, well, nice fairy tale, Lemon.
So it's a very nice model. Practically, it works well enough, but it may not actually.
Practically, it doesn't work. Practically, it doesn't work anywhere. You don't even have the distances to known locations that people travel to. Millions of people travel to every fucking day. Well, every year, but
flat maps, globe distortion. That's basically it. They assume that you can't see beyond a certain range because of a globe hump is in the way, despite the fact that the horizon is flat. That's inconsistent.
Nobody says that ever.
They say that Lennon, when you don't
have the distances to known fucking locations, major cities on any continent ever.
So just take the maps before they deform them around a globe GS84 monstrosity and just flatten them out and put them on a flat pizza. See how it looks.
And it'll be distorted, Lemon. That's the point.
Well, not just distorted. Take any map. Which one, Lemon? Which one is accurate?
I'd go with Gleason or AE.
Okay,
Gleason
well,
came from the globe.
The globe came from flat maps.
Hey, Lemon.
So let's flat anyway.
Your
Regardless
AE
of
map,
what you think, the Gleason map came from the globe. There's no other way to interpret that.
Hey, Lemon, your AE map and Gleason map, guess what? The distances between any two continents, they're wrong. They're wrong. We know the known distances. We know the distance between Santiago, Chile, and Sydney, Australia. It's it's 3 times the known fucking distance.
It's inaccurate south of the equator going east-west. It's accurate for the whole map.
It's inaccurate north of the equator.
I thought it was reasonably accurate north of the equator, or it was more accurate north of the
It's
equator.
inaccurate.
Okay, more accurate doesn't mean it's accurate.
Circle twerk, circle
just
twerk.
limit it to south of the equator. It's inaccurate.
Circle twerk.
Sorry, we're having a bit of a discussion over the
Circle twerk, no
map.
challenge.
Can you stop this, Chemo?
Circle twerk.
Chemo needs it to be about him.
No, we've got David here,
probably
and he seems
it's
to be
about
the
him.
only one who knows how to measure an angle. And
David don't know a fucking thing, but we're dealing with this topic. David can wait.
Okay.
His fucking turn.
Okay.
While you wait, David, learn to tie your shoes.
But stop circle twerking.
So Lemon.
We know how it is.
Go on, David. Hold on.
The
Just
AE
get
map
ready,
is
David.
3 times the distance than the known locations, according to that map. You're fucked. There's nothing accurate about it.
Okay, so we need to see what route they actually take, how fast they're actually going, and the main rub is the ocean distances. The land distances appear to be mapped out very nicely.
No,
Like
they're
getting
not.
a in the ocean is impossible because you're bobbing and weaving all the effing time. So are you hugging the continent? Are you cutting straight across the land? Because the air flights appear to make northern deviations over the central northern section.
No, they
The
don't.
shortest
It's a
route between
straight-
two
it's a
places
straight
is
nonstop
over the
flight.
central northern pizza, as opposed to cutting across a curved ocean on the bottom of a globe. Especially
They
for
do
the
when they are
hemisphere.
southern.
These
They do when they're
inexplicable
southern
northern
hemisphere
deviations
flights from.
that make
They
a
do.
lot of sense on a
They
flat
do.
map.
They do when they are southern hemisphere flights. They do deviate toward the south.
They go
Saying
up
they always
and then go
deviate towards
down.
the north is inaccurate, incorrect, and just wrong.
They're explicable on a flat pizza, inexplicable on a globe where they'd have to go up toward the north and back down in a V,
Wrong.
which makes
Nobody has
They
to do
don't
that.
do that.
The nonstop flight that happens, like once a week or 3 times a week, from Sydney, Australia to Santiago, Chile, we have a known distance, known location, known fucking ability for that plane to fly, and the AE map has the fucking distance between those 2 airports 3 times the fucking capability and 3 times the distance.
Nice story.
No, not nice story. It's a fucking fact.
That you can't.
And you have jet streams, which add 200 plus miles to the trip, which may make it convenient to go out of your way to get a freaking jet stream too. So this stuff gets pretty complicated.
Those flights go in both. Those flights go in both. Lemon.
Interviewed, they're getting way too much land toward the south,
No,
and that's more than enough
You
breadcrumbs
just
for a
said
flat
something
earther.
extremely wrong, and here we go. Those flights go in both directions. They do not, take advantage of the jet stream in one direction and get hammered by it in the other direction. Those flights go in two directions.
Jet streams change direction too throughout the year, not daily,
Conveniently
but
when they
do
want to
change
fly.
direction throughout the
Are
year.
you out of your mind?
Yes, I have seen
Yes,
models
yes,
where they
yes.
quite actively reverse direction. I
And
have
you claimed a
seen models
200-mile
on YouTube
advantage.
videos
200 mile per hour advantage wouldn't even be
dude,
close
throughout the
to
year.
cutting the
And they
distance
migrate north and
in
south.
time for them to make it before running out of fuel. 200 miles per hour or jet stream wouldn't do it. It
And
wouldn't
that's
work.
assuming that we're working off of the old technologies that need a whole lot of gas. Because of the conspiracy about jet fuel, they say that really to run a plane, you only need a little bit of fuel just to start the wings going, and as long as it stays going, it'll stay flying, as long as you need it to, with or without gas. You just jumpstart the wings, and after that, with efficient wing designs, that's unnecessary.
Lemon. Another conspiracy with no evidence is not going to fix this problem, Lemon.
There's conspiracy theory and there's conspiracy fact, and that is going to be germane to the discussion because we need to see what route they need to take, what route they are taking, how much fuel they are using versus how much fuel we think that they're using. All of this stuff is germane.
What the fuck is conspiracy?
Again,
Nobody gives a fuck about what
conspiracy
you
with
think.
no evidence is not going to fix this problem, Lemon.
We have Tesla's better designs with his Tesla turbines and stuff that are highly efficient, and the thing just keeps going as long as the fluid is going through the wings. That's more than enough breadcrumb. For the conspiratarded flatty like myself or whatever, all you need is a breadcrumb. That's more than enough in a world full of lies.
I like it, yeah.
Without
And
a
that
working
is-
example anywhere.
Yeah, but we know we
Again,
have Tesla.
A
That's
conspiracy with no evidence does not help this
Yeah,
situation.
but if you don't have, but the point is, if you don't have substantial evidence, then, like Lemon says, this is enough to say, well, this is how they could do it.
No.
No, that's not how reality works. Sorry, that might be how conspirator works, but actually we do have substantial evidence.
Yeah, the
You
ability
deny
to
all
say
evidence doesn't
something
mean it.
doesn't give it the ability to be correct or true.
Look, because you have
You
a
guys
few
can
more,
say a
you
lot
may
of
have
things, and you do, Chemo.
you may have a
You
slice
can
of
and do.
bread, but it's not the whole loaf. We just
I
need
know,
a breadcrumb to imply that Tesla's technology.
You think it's a breadcrumb? It's actually a rabbit's herd.
Slices short of a loaf.
At least we're rambling about something different.
It's a good point.
The
What
airplane
he's
makes
saying
it there due to smushing.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Sorry, Chemo. Your breadcrumb is actually a rabbit turd.
But it's enough. If we know about Tesla, Tesla has
But it's enough.
technology.
Yeah, it's enough to eat it and think it's a raisin.
Well, it still stands. No Tesla, no crumb. Tesla is more than a crumb, I would say. That's a handful of crumbs.
That's a slice. You got a whole slice on your hands with that.
Dang
No, you
right.
don't.
But don't you guys have flat earth scientists you could talk about? Why are you always talking about our people? You know, Tesla's on our side.
Anyway,
put
yeah,
three-
David. Yeah, you ready, David? David is the man which I've seen. Hold
Is
on.
anybody legacy muted? I should check.
All right, I put 3 images in the chat I want everybody to look at. Okay.
Okay.
If you're muted and you shouldn't be,
Who?
say it in the chat. I don't think anybody is, but I'm just checking because I've
Oh.
muted some people.
I don't want David to be part of the conversation. This conversation goes nowhere.
Lemma, you can probably work with him. Is this not the way to measure a mountain? What he's describing here.
But part of the thing that we're talking about is whether perspective is cutting off the object, not whether or not you can measure the height of the object, because part of the object disappears, according to them, due to a globe Earth curve, according to the flatties, because of some sort of optical phenomenon. So what you're measuring is disappearing due to different explanations, and that's what we need to talk about. Not whether or not we can measure the height of a mountain. This has already been established.
Go, Lemon,
what we
go.
need to establish is why the object appears to be cut off, flat, plane, or a globe.
Get him, Lemon. This is the first time I actually agree with you. Get him. Tell him why it's fucking stupid.
Just saying, David, you don't help us establish anything, and then you take us off on these weird, frustrating tangents that go nowhere. This is why I don't like inviting you to the conversation.
No, because if it was, they're saying that Ranty's image hides the mountain behind the curvature of the Earth. And you could take there's two. All right, in the first image, you'll see the geoid. You see where it says geoid there?
Sure.
Okay, so that would be the way that you would measure mountains curving around that would be behind another mountain. You would have to use that way of measuring and calculating the height of a mountain on a ball, correct?
Already established. They're trying to say that it's going behind Earth curve. Already established. Please continue.
And the second image, you'll notice that the mountain's being measured on a flat Earth with a flat as its base, a flat plane. Correct?
But you still need to explain why part of the mountain is gone and why it has appeared to lower. So we still need to establish, David, whether it's Earth curve or something optical.
All right, put a bunch of trees in front of this mountain. Okay,
Okay.
Smushing. Way down to the observer where the trees are. But the trees are blocking the mountain.
So are the trees blocking the mountain on a globe or on a flat plane?
The bottom
we still have the question of why part of the mountain is gone.
The angle to the top of the mountain is what gives you the height, not the base.
But part of the mountain is gone either because it went behind an Earth curve or something optical clipped it, David. So we still need to establish that. You haven't helped us establish that one iota or one lick.
Lemon, what you don't understand is it's all about.
Oh. Yeah, that's the end of him. He skidded off the road and died in a fiery crash.
Jesus, Jem.
Just providing an interesting ending to what he had to say, you know. Quantum, good one.
You're ordering Chinese takeout, Jim?
Yeah, it's ordered.
Damn, I got 6 weeks still before I can do that.
Oh my God, why?
Because I don't get my second until June 1st.
Very funny.
Right.
I'm not eating restaurant food before I'm fully vaxxed. It's not happening.
Oh yeah, I get you. Okay, well, I'm risking it. Fuck it.
We've had bloody outbreaks here.
You know what Chinese people do too? I used to work for a Chinese restaurant.
No,
Chinese
I
people
don't want to know.
Chinese people come illegally into the country in New York City. The Chinese restaurants go and get these Chinese people to work for very little money. They house them, they feed them, and I mean these people are coming straight from China, basically. No, no immigration.
Yeah.
They're just coming through illegally.
I'm pretty sure you saw a movie of it.
Then.
I mean, this motherfucker could have been eating a head off a bat in Wuhan 2 days before he's cooking your Chinese food.
Nah.
Well, good thing Jem's in Britain then.
What happened to David?
He
Dave,
died in a
are you okay, Dave?
fiery
'Cause
road
now
crash.
I'm worried. Jem's got me worried. Jem's got me worried, Dave. Are you okay?
Fireball.
Oh no! Can you imagine if that actually happens?
Jesus,
I
I
would
know.
be.
Dude,
I would have
wouldn't
to
be trying
leave
to
the
do
community.
No,
You
you
wouldn't be
wouldn't,
trying to do a
Jim. No, Jim.
presentation.
No, you wouldn't. I would actually laugh my ass off. I would laugh my ass off and be like, "Oh shit, Jim's got like fucking X-Men powers. Like, tell me my
The
future.
Force.
Yeah, that's because you're the devil.
Force
but
is
you
strong
were,
with this
you were
one.
ready to apologize to C4 or Aaron the other day, like a little bitch. I'll be in this crowd fighting fans on some Ron Artest shit. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, so sorry, Aaron.
How do we know Jem didn't nudge him off the road with the Force? Yeah.
Well, we've also got Brian here. He also knows how
Rickon.
to make a measurement or two. So I think between me, Rachel, Brian, David,
Brian says
Jeremy,
you can't measure. Brian says you can't measure anything because everything's distorted.
Yeah, but between us lot here, we will figure out Ranty's observation. I mean, this is not that big of a deal.
Well, Brian says you can't measure anything from pictures because everything's distorted.
Yeah, he's right.
Right, Brian?
That's correct.
I think the argument is over,
That's what
really.
Brian thinks, of course.
I think the argument's finished, really. I think you guys have already finished it because you've spent like 3 weeks making shit up. You haven't got anything coherent to say about it. We've literally had Merlin here today saying that Execrete 200 had debunked this. So I went and had a look at his video, and he's just another one, just claiming this is just objects, one object being bigger because it's closer.
This is a revolution in optics, Gem. A revolution. We need to talk about perspective clipping, perspective cutting, perspective disappearance, all of those things.
Right. I mean, you know what? I would like it. I wouldn't mind it if that guy was doing that. I would think it was all bullshit. But at least he wouldn't be pretending that this is just because it's a long way away.
Well, look, you guys are pretending that it's of curvature. So, unless obviously we see a measurement of curvature, how on earth do you expect anyone to accept this?
Well, Rachel's proved it, hasn't she? Because her model of it, right, didn't match the photograph, right?
Yeah, it did. Didn't it?
No, I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
I think what's happening is perspective is smashing the image. And so your level line is effectively disappearing in your theodolites.
All right.
So it's
why
appearing to
should
be a
he
curve.
continue after that lie?
Well, the Earth is curving.
Smashing needs to be explored.
Perspective is not smashing the image.
But if we're wrong, what is the answer then? If we're wrong, what's the answer?
We've already given you the answers. You don't listen to them.
So you want to make up a just so story and say it's because of curvature, even though
I haven't made up a damn thing.
You moron.
Even though we see no other curvature anywhere else on the Earth.
That's a lie.
Ever, never,
Incorrect. Except everywhere you dumb fucks do an observation, and everywhere that we do one. Do we see it? Everywhere.
Perfect image that explained it. Soundlies. Just fucking everywhere, dude. The turbine. Every one of Ranty's photos.
But what you're basically saying is that a hump of Earth curve is obstructing the object, but if you're only 6 feet off the ground, you would have 6 feet of smashing equally on all sides, but that's it. After that, the smashing from the bottom up is over 6 feet. That's it. While you have smashing continue from the top, the left, and the right exponentially 20 feet top, left, right, 40 feet top, left, right, a whole mountain top, left, right, while it's only 6 feet from the bottom up. This is differential.
Oh, hey, Dallas, you didn't die in a car crash. That's awesome.
We got to move to the next level. It's all a lie.
Oh, David's here now.
It's all about the height. It's all about the height of the image.
Right, David,
it doesn't matter anything about.
Go on.
Can I just say one thing?
Yep.
It's all about the degrees off of the horizon the object is. It has nothing to do with the base of the object.
Hold on a second. David, go on.
You can't. So if you measure, hold on, wait. If you wait, real quick, I got a question. So if you measure something from the horizon, you measure the angle from the horizon to the top, right? And you measure a mountain. Is that going to give you an accurate measurement?
Yes.
You're a
of
fucking
the full
moron.
height of whatever you're looking at.
This is the lie. This is what you got to understand. This is what they don't teach you in school.
If you measure it off the horizon, David.
Yeah, they didn't teach surveyors that either.
I'm sorry they don't want you to know you live on a flat Earth, and they don't tell you here it's the Earth's flat, but you're going to tell you it's round. So just believe what you think they're. I'm gonna put two images in the chat. You tell me which one is the way you measure.
We're not going to tell you anything, David, because you don't establish anything. But the thing is, if you measure off of the horizon, you're going to get an inaccurate measure of the object because part of the object is gone. You're saying that it's because of Earth curve. We're saying it's because of optics over a flat plane.
Lemon, with respect, please. I just want to hear Dave, because David seems to be the one.
Newsflash.
He's just got a little presentation to make. He's got these images. I've got them here on the big screen. The one with the building, the one with the mountain, David. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. I'll put them back in the chat so we're all fresh. Let me get back over so I can look at them and talk to you about them.
Wow, it's something I finally agree with Lemon with. That's amazing.
I know.
Lemon, if it's wrong,
Lemon,
if it's
fucking
wrong,
tell him how stupid he is.
If it's wrong, Lemon, we'll find out soon enough for sure. We're not going to let any mistakes
No, you
slide.
won't.
You know.
And newsflash. And here's a newsflash: surveyors never measure from the visual horizon. We measure from the plumb line.
Well,
really? Huh.
David, I got that one up. Yeah.
All right, we got this. This is the way you believe that mountains are measured, right, Lemon?
And that's coming from an actual surveyor.
Is this image that I have in the chat right now the way that you would take a picture and measure what's in that picture?
Sure.
Okay, good.
That is the absolute wrong way of doing it.
Why?
But
Why?
This would be the way you would measure stars or the sun or moon or things in the sky, not a flat something on the earth.
How would you measure something on the Earth?
All right, let me give you the image for that. You want me to show you how you measure something on the earth? Hold on real quick.
Well, I asked you a very simple question. How would we measure it on the Earth?
I'm going to show you.
All right, I just put how.
I prefer if you didn't show me, David, because you're very circuitous in your approach. We'll be here for another hour and get nowhere. How do we measure it on the Earth? Plainly, simply, please state it.
I put my graphic up there of a measurement I actually made
Bob,
on the Earth.
So take me through this. You hang down this plumb bob, and you do what to get your angle? You go from that plumb bob up and down?
Yeah, the instrument is oriented to gravity just like a carpenter's level, but only finer because it does have an alcohol vial. And the vertical circle of the instrument is oriented to that plumb line, and the angle is measured from the gravity vector, and it's referred to as a zenith angle, which makes a 90-degree angle, a vertical angle, but we only measure from zenith for that reason. And yeah, optical tooling with alcohol vials and a gravity vector, just like an auto level, also responds only to gravity. Nobody's measuring from a visual horizon.
You mentioned 90 degrees. 90 degrees to what? I have the zenith angle pointing straight up. 90 degrees
God
from there will
how
hit
many
what?
times did he fucking say it?
He needs to see it again curved. 90 degrees to what?
So you can ignore it again?
Thanks for white knighting. 90 degrees to what?
Fleming, your mic is a lot louder.
David, say it again, right? Cause where's he?
Sorry, 90 degrees to what?
David's got something here, I think, with how measuring the mountain, and we need.
I'll have to be more explicit because people are obfuscating. It's fine. I'll get
He said vertical about 5 times. I heard him clearly. The fact that you're not listening to him saying vertical, and he said vertical again, and I'm saying vertical about 7 times, and you're still not going to listen to the fact that it's vertical. 90 to the vertical.
90 degrees from the plumb line, which hangs down.
Be patient, David.
To the vertical.
0 is straight overhead. 0 is straight overhead, and 180 is straight down, and that is the reference from the alcohol vial, which is the plumb line. Just like an auto level, carpenter's level, and a precise aesthetic.
So you have 90 degrees to the horizon, right?
90 degrees to plumb. 90 degrees to vertical. 90 degrees to zenith. What's wrong with you?
Because the plumb line hangs straight up and down.
Yeah, okay. Good.
That'd be your vertical, wouldn't it?
That is the plumb line. Yes, the gravity vector.
Okay, so that's 0 degrees.
David's got
0 to 90 degrees. What am I touching?
He introduced the increment.
90 degrees is the perpendicular bisector of the plumb line. Yeah.
Is that at the horizon?
No.
You don't have to see the horizon.
Where is it then?
90 degrees to vertical, you don't even have to see the horizon in order to be at 90 degrees to vertical.
I think he's looking for the term horizontal. Can somebody just fucking say horizontal, please?
Why won't anyone let David finish his presentation?
The reason why he wants someone to say horizontal is because it supposedly has something to do with the horizon.
And
but
we
unfortunately
have
for
made
him,
it explicitly
it's not
clear
actually
it's not.
related to the horizon at all.
Yeah, but why can't David? Why are we censoring David?
I'm just waiting for you to clearly state the truth, rather than
Nobody's
using your
censoring
verbal
David. They're just
words.
not allowing you to
Still
fucking
the
dictate
truth
the
rather than
conversation.
reveal the
Fuck off,
truth.
Chemo.
It's got 3 pictures with angles, protractors. Well, 4 now with mounted
Chemo,
protractors. And
you're
angles.
not helping.
All right,
Clearly-
fine. David, just be patient. We'll get it out soon.
Clearly stated, perpendicular is the plumb line, and a perpendicular bisector to the plumb line is 90 degrees to vertical. 0 is straight overhead, 180 is straight down, and that is what the angles are referenced to, which is only 90 degrees exactly offset from what you're going to get with the term vertical angle. Zenith angle, vertical angle, same thing, oriented to the plumb line, and 90 degrees, the perpendicular bisector of the plumb line. You do know what a perpendicular bisector is, right?
So I think I'm starting to get this image in my head. You basically have this line going out straight to this perpendicular bisector to intersect the object. Is that correct? In the distance?
Perpendicular to the plumb line.
Right, so you have a line going straight from the plumb line, hitting the object at this perpendicular bisector?
If you're going to talk like a child, get a child.
I asked clearly for an answer. Please don't use your words to conceal the truth. Please use your words to reveal the truth. Straight out from the plumb line to the object, is it intersecting at a perpendicular bisector on the object in the distance or not?
The vertical zenith angle with 0 at nadir, or at zenith, straight overhead, and the angle is measured to the object in reference to that 0 vertical of plumb line. Whether you come up 88 degrees or 91 degrees is product of whether it's above you or below you. So yeah, it's measuring from zenith, from straight overhead. And if I measure an angle of 87 degrees, that's a vertical angle of 3 degrees. But we don't use the term vertical angle very often because of the ambiguity. So we measure zenith angle for clarity and computational purposes.
Fascinating.
Problem with what you're trying to do is force the situation into this definition of the plumb line and the actual vertical angle and the perpendicular that is not always there. Yes, in some cases it is, but it is not always.
Interesting. This is the concept that I want to explore. Perspective crushing your level line. I would like to hypothesize that the zone of vision where your level line is level has effectively been crushed, converged, merged, disappeared, and been sandwiched under a bigger visual zone over a flat plane. This is interpreted as a curve downward away from the observer in error, despite the lack of curvature to the horizon, and despite the object not angling forward or dipping forward in any sort of noticeable way it should on an orange or some sort of curved surface.
There's a few hundred years of accumulated data that absolutely destroy your indefensible hypothesis.
And they're wrong. Half of these people are European. Europeans are not known for their independent thought. They do what they have to from the top down. They don't think independently, and they're not necessarily going after the truth. They're going after their career, and they're going after consensus. So the consensus at that point is worthless because it's not independent enough to find the truth.
Lemon, so we're supposed to, so let me get this straight, right? So when I look at buildings across the water, am I supposed to believe that the rest of the building is crushed?
Crushed to the perspective zone, basically behind the horizon in the foreground, where everything has disappeared due to angular resolution over a flat plane.
As long as you can see the top of the building, you can tell how. You could figure out how that it'll be the exact height that it's supposed to be if you went there and measured it with a tape measure, no matter how far away you are.
Crushed over a flat plane toward the level of the eyes.
Unless you're
how do we
looking at
verify
that
this,
mountain
Lemon?
from
How do we verify
Southport.
this crushing?
Lasers, but the globers make the laser curve, effectively rendering any sort of verification impossible.
Well, I
Why are
think
you
I
playing
remember
this game?
someone, real quick. I think I remember somebody in this community saying that they were actually present with one of these laser tests, and they could never get the laser down below the 3rd floor of a hotel. I'm not sure if I
It's
remember
still way
right.
lower than would be expected on a GS-84 globe model. So we can try to harmonize with workarounds for the globe, or drop the globe and say that we still don't have enough curvature here. It's probably closer to flat.
Oh no!
But if the laser's
Probably
down at like
closer to flat.
Yeah.